The story of a sister-in-law who demands a holiday. To start with, I am a 46-year-old woman, married with 3 kids. 10 years ago, we came into a lot of money. I worked hard in a specific field that earns well, and I'd made some smart investments that paid off. I've been steadily adding to our bank account over the years. My husband considers this my money. We don't have a prenup, so I'll refer to it as mine. When the first payout came in, I did what my husband and I had always discussed doing if we ever came into money. We paid off the mortgage, I bought a new car, and I managed to buy a nice house in our favourite holiday destination. We rent that one out to a lovely family for most of the year. We set up college funds for our children, each got an equal amount, enough to cover 5 years of education. If any money is left over, they can use it as a down payment on their own house or apartments. As the money continued coming in, thanks to both my work and investments, I looked at how I could help my immediate family. My husband has 2 sisters, and we have 5 nieces and nephews on his side from one of them. My brother also has 2 children. We decided that all of the nieces and nephews would get college funds too, equal to what our children received, and under the same strict stipulations. Goodness me, you must have done well here, my word, that's a lot of money. I gathered the information about costs, and I made sure that everything was paid. One niece had already started college, so I reimbursed her parents for what they'd already spent to keep things fair. She managed to finish within 4 years and still had some money left over. I had an accountant, a dear friend, look into what would be the most beneficial for my brother and one of my sisters-in-law in terms of their mortgages. I paid off the majority of both. We sent my parents on a nice trip, since their house is already paid off. For both my in-laws and my other sister-in-law, who rent, I paid a certain amount to help them save. A portion of the money also goes to charity, both locally and abroad. I also set up college funds for the children of our closest friends and extended family. As a treat, my husband, our little ones, and I went on a vacation, paid for by us/me, with both my side and his side of the family. At this point, everyone was very grateful. However, one of my sisters-in-law always needs to be in the spotlight, or her kids do. She's nice to my face, but I know for a fact that she's badmouthed me, made passive-aggressive remarks about me, my work, and me as a person, but always in such a way that you'd be the jerk for calling her out. My usual tactic, and one that always works, is to play the innocent/dumb one and nitpick what she says. I've shut her down many times without coming off as the female dog. For the past few years, she's been hinting that I should pay for a very nice, all-inclusive resort holiday for her and her family abroad because I, quote, have the money. Note, they have money saved that was originally meant for their kids' college funds, money that has barely been used. When COVID hit, she went quiet. She and her husband took it and still take it very seriously. Now that restrictions have mostly lifted, and it's worth mentioning again guys, this post was written in mid-2020, she had a birthday party for herself and her son, since he really wanted one. No biggie, we showed up with gifts for both. The birthday boy got a voucher for camping gear, and my sister-in-law got a voucher she could use however she wanted. I added sunscreen, drinks, and a few other things since I knew she was planning some sort of holiday. Or so we thought. She asked about our holiday plans. We said we wouldn't be crossing any foreign borders. We're staying in our home country, but we booked a cabin for a week. Very nice, nothing luxurious. We still have to cook and do the grocery shopping. She started with the whole, "Oh, how nice. We're still thinking about what we want to do." My lovely husband and I both had a feeling about what she was hinting at, so we started spouting ideas, trying to dodge a disaster. We mentioned some family property they might use for a weekend, or a campsite that has entertainment for kids. Then it came. She showed us something she found online, and to be fair, it looked amazing. Not over-the-top luxury, but still very nice, all-inclusive, water park for the kids, spa, the whole shebang. Price tag for a family of 7? $35,000. Wow. My husband said, "That is a lot, but good thing you saved so much." She said, "Oh, we didn't. We thought you'd be paying for my birthday?" Excuse me, what? She didn't ask, she just expected me to give her $35,000 as a birthday gift just because I have money. She went on about how I earn enough, we're family, her kids are my godchildren, and so on. We sat in stunned silence. Even the birthday boy and two of his sisters looked up from playing. My husband laughed. He thought it was a joke. My father-in-law just sat there. I apparently did a great impression of a fish. Nope, she was dead serious. You have the money, you can just give it. You won't miss it. This is a woman who's disrespected me and my work many times, but in a sweet, passive-aggressive way that's hard to call out. Still, my husband, my father-in-law, and I have called her out before. I just sat there, listening to her sweeten her voice, widen her eyes, her I want something face, and list all the reasons we should give her the money, completely ignoring the voucher we gave her. Once I snapped out of it, I said the one sentence she didn't want to hear. No. But you have the money. Yeah, that's true. So you can pay for it. Yeah, I could. Oh, well that's great then. But I won't. But we deserve it. You won't miss it and we're family. Yep, unfortunately, you and I are family now. I do love being family with your kids though. Fact is, we're family. Another fact is, we all deserve a holiday after the nightmare that was COVID. What's false though is that I wouldn't miss it. I absolutely would notice if $35,000 left my bank account. That was meant to be a joke, but still. She and her husband started ranting about how much they think I should pay. Oh my goodness, the husband's getting involved as well. Listen, you've shown zero respect for me or my work, I said. You don't appreciate that I've worked hard and made sacrifices to earn this money. You don't respect the fact that I paid off your mortgage, paid for your kids' education, even gave them money for a down payment. You badmouth me, you call me names, you've even told people my husband should divorce me. My sister-in-law tried to deny it. My brother-in-law called me a liar. Then my father-in-law chimed in and sided with me. And then their kids spoke up. They told their dad they had heard their mum say horrible things about me. The birthday boy even showed us a video he accidentally recorded while making a TikTok, and it captured her talking trash. My brother-in-law went completely silent. Then my sister-in-law tried to pivot. Fine, well, don't pay for the whole vacation. The least you can do is pay for our flights and let us stay at your holiday home. Keep in mind, we rent that home to a local family for most of the year, and due to COVID, they still live there. They can't or won't travel. Yeah, that's not happening, I said. First, the tenants can't leave. Second, you don't get to make demands. The voucher you got already has a very generous amount. Maybe put that towards a holiday. Third, you already got a paid vacation when we all went together. Fourth, if you want more money, get a better paying job. You have a degree. And lastly, you treat me like trash and still expect me to just hand over my hard-earned money? She started crying and turned to her dad, who once again sided with me. He said he understood and acknowledged the sacrifices my husband and I made. My husband was furious. He told her very clearly that this was not happening. Then we packed up our kids and left. Later, we got a call from my mother-in-law. She has some flying monkey tendencies and tends to favor this sister-in-law. By the way, guys, flying monkey in the context of narcissistic abuse refers to people who are manipulated by a narcissist to carry out their dirty work or to further their abusive agenda. As in, this woman has manipulated her mum into doing her dirty work for her and making her mum think that she's in the right when clearly she's not. So my sister-in-law's mum tried the whole, but they've had it so hard routine. My husband, though, handled it perfectly. After a long talk, she actually understood. And here's the kicker. My sister-in-law's kids were furious about the whole situation. They rebelled hard. They came to visit us and had a heart-to-heart. I told them we didn't blame them for their parents' actions. I explained why we weren't handing out more money after the initial gifts. The youngest still seemed to side with mum and dad, but the rest understood. They know about their generous college and home funds. We told them we didn't expect them to go against their parents, especially since they still live at home. They stayed for dinner and then went home. As of now, the kids barely speak to their parents. They still do chores and communicate the basics, but that's it. Then came more flying monkeys, relatives that my sister-in-law had reached out to. But a simple Facebook post by the birthday boy with the video shut that down. My sister and brother-in-law faced massive backlash from the extended family. They were uninvited from some events. We got several apologies. Some family members said they were torn. They understood both sides. The only part that still bothers me is how my in-laws are caught in the middle, especially my mother-in-law, who's very family-oriented. I know some of you might wonder why I won't just give her the money. Well, one reason is how she's treated me, even before the money. Another is that I simply don't feel comfortable just handing out money like that. I just ask that you share your opinion kindly. So, am I the jerk here for not paying? Okay, first of all, you are obviously not the jerk here at all. Secondly, I just want to say congratulations because you must have made so much money. I mean, how many kids did you say you've set up entire college funds for and paid off mortgages, paid rent, paid for family holidays already, giving like really nice birthday presents? I don't know what you got involved in. Maybe it was Dogecoin early, something like that. But fair play to you. I am jealous. Well done. I'm jealous and proud. That's just insane that you've been able to do that well. Well done. I'm sure you've worked very hard, as you've said, but you must have made a lot of money from whatever investments those are to have that level of cash to help out your entire family like that. So well done to you. Now, as I said in the introduction, there is another post that I'm going to include in this episode, sort of like an update, I suppose. But then there's also like dozens of other posts about this woman and yeah, the rest of OP's. Well, I don't want to say entitled family. There are some interesting characters, let's just say that. But yeah, it's just crazy that somebody would have the audacity to demand this when you've paid off their mortgage. They're still like, no, I reckon you can give me a $35,000 holiday for my 7 kids. Also, sorry, 7 members of our family. Also, $35,000 for one holiday. Like, I know you said it's not lavish or whatever, OP, but that's insane. Even if it was like a normal family of 4, right? How much is that costing? $25,000, $30,000 probably for one holiday? Where are you going to spend that much money? That's absolutely ridiculous. The audacity, as I said. But yeah, as I said, there's loads more posts to come. We'll just do one more today. This one comes from August of 2020. Kind of an update to that first story. Let's see what happened next. Okay then, the title of this next post is You Paid for Them, You Paid for Us. So, my sister-in-law was very disappointed and angry that I didn't bow to her every whim and pay for a holiday. We had some flying monkeys come in because of my sister-in-law. Most backed down, understood where we stood, and left us alone. Unfortunately, the whole family on my husband's side now knows we have a bank account with a lot of money in it. Since my sister-in-law had called a lot of family members to complain and spill the beans, they began talking amongst themselves and their children. Some of the aunts, uncles, and cousins didn't think it was fair that I paid for college funds for some of the cousins' children and that I paid for a family holiday. To note, I only set up college funds for the children of cousins we have a close relationship with. That's about 6 cousins with around 12 kids. I've been in this family for almost 20 years, and I only see most of the aunts, uncles, and cousins at the yearly or bi-yearly family reunion, if everyone even shows up. I've not seen some of them in 5 to 10 years. A couple of days after the fallout with my sister-in-law, one aunt and uncle called, something they never do. I put my phone on speaker as I was folding laundry. They asked how everything was going, how we were holding up during COVID and such. We exchanged some experiences, and then they said this. This was the start of the conversation. Listen, they said, we hear you have some college funds set up for some of the children of certain cousins. Is that true? Yeah, that's true, I said. I'm not a liar. Well, is it also true that you took your mother-in-law, father-in-law, first sister-in-law, and second sister-in-law and family with you on holiday? Yep, that's true. You also have a holiday home? Yes? Well, we do, but why do you want and need to know? Well, we never knew you had so much money. Well, a lot of hard work, sacrifices, dedication, and luck were part of it. Aha, well, you have to pay for our grandchildren's college funds as well, and we want to go on a holiday with our children too. We deserve it too. I was just in shocked silence. We're family, so you have to pay. At this point, I was in less shocked silence. Yes, we want college funds for our 6 grandchildren, each consisting of $800,000, and we want a holiday home like yours, but in another location. We already have one we want. We'll send you the information. And that also goes for our family holiday. We're family, and since you have the money, you can pay for us too. At this point, I'm in annoyed silence. They continue to rant that they deserved it because they're family, and family takes care of each other. My husband, meanwhile, had heard everything and was getting angrier. I pressed the record button halfway through the conversation and asked them to repeat their demands. I eventually asked them if they had more to say, which they didn't. I just flat out said that it wasn't going to happen, that they might think they're entitled to my money, but they aren't. I quoted the phrase that they, and many others in the family, told us when my husband and I didn't have money and were in a tight spot because of a health scare. We asked every family member if we could borrow some money, and we promised to pay it back. Only 3 of the 9 aunts and uncles helped us, and we paid them back. The quotes? "It is your responsibility to have and save enough money for the care, well-being, and education of your family. If you can't, then you don't deserve them. We won't be giving you any money." Stunned silence on their side. I told them to relay the message to the rest and not to call us with such demands. And I hung up. My husband was very proud. In the weeks that followed, some other aunts, uncles, and cousins called with the same demands. Only those aunts and uncles who helped us in our time of need called to say that it's our money, they've seen our generosity, and not to give more. One cousin called and asked for a certified loan for a down payment on a house, something I agreed to. They had the majority saved, but were short by $1,000. They needed to pay early to secure the house. Just now, I saw I received the first half back. That also raised heck. Then, with the aunts, uncles, and cousins, we had a Zoom call, and I explained my reasons for not doing stuff. I told them they could always come to us if they truly needed the financial help, but under legal contracts so that neither party would feel screwed over. The cousin who borrowed money even showed the certified/notarized loan. Most seemed to understand. Not entirely happy, but they knew they could come to us for help. Some, however, didn't accept that. Then came the cherry on top. I came home last week on a weekday to find a lot of parked cars in an otherwise empty street. I had to pass my house to park somewhere else, and around 15 to 20 aunts, uncles, cousins, and their spouses had gathered in the front yard. So much for social distancing. It turned out to be 3 aunts, 3 uncles, and a mix of cousins and their partners. I parked the car and I walked back home. Now, here is something that not many people know. I have security cameras around my house that record sound. Another thing that few people know, don't mess with me. I've been told my right hook is very painful. While walking back, I called the non-emergency line of our local police station. I told them the situation and warned that things might get out of hand. They said they'd send someone to assist. And poop hit the fan. The moment I came into view, people started screaming and cursing, telling me to pay up or they'd make sure I paid, one way or another. They began cornering me. Some pointed fingers in my face and poked my chest and arms. I told them multiple times to stop and to leave. Some neighbours also called the police, and more officers arrived and tried to get through to me. Then, one uncle made a mistake. He slapped me. A man of about 6'3" slapped me, a woman of 5'2", across the face in full view of the cops. The crowd went silent as he got in my face, ranting that I had to obey him as an elder, with his hand raised like he was going to slap me again. He didn't get the chance. I knocked him to the ground. He wasn't unconscious, but he was definitely rattled and stunned. That was apparently the cue the cops needed. The family members were shocked. The officers got them away from me and were clearly annoyed. A few of the aunts, uncles, and cousins ran to their cars and drove off. The rest were dealt with by some very angry police officers. Some received fines for breaking social distancing rules, and they may be facing charges. To shorten the novel already, I'm fine, I've just got bruised fingers. The uncle had a broken cheekbone. My lovely camera footage is now in the hands of the DA. The other family members have distanced themselves from what happened. To be honest, I feel really trashy. I feel like I'm dividing the family just because I won't hand out my money. My husband says it's my money and I worked hard for it, so I get to decide what happens. Still, I'm thinking about setting up college funds for the rest of the kids, though I'm doubting that. It would feel like I don't stand my ground, that I can be persuaded with violence, threats, and harassment. I'm so sick of it. Now, some other information as well, just to end this one. I've pressed charges, OP says, against my uncle for the little love tap that he gave me. Thankfully, he's not filed counter charges for the one I gave him in return. I've been told he asked for anger management and a psychological evaluation voluntarily. His statement is that he got carried away and felt he was being egged on. He also wrote a letter of apology and sent it to my lawyer. I don't know what to believe. This behaviour is out of character for him. He and his wife also contacted my lawyer with a written apology. All those present had to give statements, and one clear theme came out. They were all there because the aunt and uncle who called me first, the ones from above in this post, told them they should come and try to convince me. As for charges concerning the others present, my lawyer is looking into whether we can get charges to stick for harassment. He's also checking whether the instigators can be charged with anything else. That guy is having a field day. He loves this stuff. The relatives who weren't involved have sent texts, calls, and emails apologizing for the behavior of their spouses, siblings, or parents. None of them have asked me to drop the charges, just sent heartfelt apologies. Okay, wow, I thought that was going to be just a little update explaining how the sister-in-law reacted to you not giving her any money, or $35,000, for her free vacation. But no, things seem to level up a bit. Okay, so starting with an update from the previous post. What I want to start with is that this behavior is out of character. This is my husband's family, and they've always been hardworking, family-oriented people. They do not all have jobs that paid a lot. Them not loaning us money when we needed it was because they don't like loaning money. They were afraid of not getting it back as they needed it themselves. That said, the comments they made back then hurt. We talked about it at the time. They understood and they apologized. Also, my husband and I have a strong feeling that my blabbermouth sister-in-law said some things to them that made them go nuts. At the moment, this is just a hunch. We'll see what time tells. So for them to pounce on me like this isn't normal behavior for them. It doesn't change anything though. Since the incident, I've talked to cousins, aunts, and uncles. On advice of my lawyer, I sent an email stating that I do not want to be contacted by them at this point, as the visitors might face a lawsuit, along with little love tap uncle. I gave them my lawyer's contact information if they wish or need to get in touch. I asked them to respect this. I also advised the visitors and my uncle to find legal counsel due to the circumstances. By the way, OP is referring to the visitors here as the family members that were just on her drive when she came back. As of now, they've all respected this. We've not received calls, text, or emails. Only one cousin is still in contact with my husband. This is the cousin who has the certified loan, so we need to stay in touch. That cousin told my husband that the visitors and my uncle are very ashamed and realise they fluffed up enormously. He's heard some talk about mediation. The uncle even cried in front of him. That's a man who never cries. It seems genuine, but I'm cautious. I've read the responses and I don't feel guilty anymore. I'm someone who helps when needed. I always have been. Even when we didn't have much money, people were always welcome to stay for dinner or a night or two to get back on their feet. I've always felt lucky and blessed to have a roof over my head, 3 meals a day, and clothes on my back. My husband and I have discussed it, and we've decided we won't be offering any more funds to the other family members, their children, or grandchildren. Good. However, we are open to certified loans like the cousin has, but we've decided not to share this publicly for now. I'm not going to punish people for the actions of their parents or grandparents. Some people suggested I should move or change my number. No, I won't do that. I'm not going to move because of what happened. We live in a safe neighborhood with neighbors who look out for each other. Also, as of now, this is an isolated incident. I did block them on my phone and social media. My number is known to many official authorities, and again, since this is an isolated incident for now, I won't change it. My husband chose not to block them. Any contact goes through him, in case they say something that can be used in court. He wants to keep tabs on them as much as possible. I'm okay with this. All the correspondence has been saved. My lawyer and I have a Zoom call planned for next week. I've already updated him with what the cousin said. He also hopes to have heard something from the DA by then. He said that mediation is an option, and that he wouldn't be surprised if the DA considers it if the visitors and my uncle are open to it. There still might be legal consequences. He has some ideas, but it also depends on the DA and what the visitors and my uncle plead. I just love that they're called the visitors. It sounds like they could be sort of like a horde of zombies in a way. I guess in some strange fashion, that was sort of how they were acting. My lawyer told me he's had time to read some of the statements and review parts of the footage. So far, their stories are consistent with the footage he's seen. At this point, I just want their actions recorded and for them to face consequences. You do not get to threaten me, or possibly my family, and physically harm me without getting your behind kicked at least once. Let them be scared crapless for now. The footage is in the hands of the DA and my lawyer. A neighbour also recorded what happened, and that footage has been submitted as well. They gave a statement too. I backed everything up just in case. The neighbours know what happened. I sent them flowers with an apology for the disturbance. They appreciated the gesture. Thankfully, they're not afraid, and they've promised to keep an eye on things. They're actually angel neighbours, really. Now, I don't consider myself a hero. I just try to be a decent human being. I don't flaunt the fact that we have money. We live in a normal home on a normal street. We don't wear expensive clothes. The car I bought 10 years ago was brand new then, and the baby's still going strong. It's got some dents and scratches, but it runs just fine. I'm not going to buy a new car just because this one's old. Same goes for my husband's car. The kids have their chores and get pocket money, but if they want something extra, they do extra chores for some extra spending money. They also have to save part of their allowance. We want to teach them the value of money. The eldest knows we have a filled bank account, but also knows what it cost to get there. Right now, the kids want a Switch, so they're saving up. We'll cover part of it, and they'll have to come up with the rest. We just try to be an average family. Okay, well, that is great. That is exactly the right way to be, I think. No matter how much money you have, you got to treat your kids the same. I mean, if you've got the cash to treat them, like you said. But you can't just go out buying them Switches, buying them loads of clothes, spending your money on cars, etc., etc. You can. You've got the cash to do it, clearly. I just don't think that's the sort of lifestyle that first of all, it's not the sort of lifestyle that you want to have. I can tell that by reading your words, OP. Secondly, it's just not really the example you want to set to your kids, that they can just get stuff. Yeah, it's cool knowing that your parents have a lot of money and they've done well, but you still got to earn it like your parents did in the first place. It actually reminds me a little bit of my dad, because this is my, I think, second computer now. In how many years have I had a computer? Over 10, right? I think I've had this computer maybe 4 or 5 years. It's a nice computer. I bought it myself. Don't worry. But, with the money that this channel has made. However, I wanted a computer to be able to make YouTube videos, edit, play some games, etc. Make videos out of that. How long ago was that? Yeah, probably 10 years ago, roughly. And I didn't have enough money for it. I had some money. I probably had £400. And you can get a decent computer with that, but for what I wanted to do and be able to edit and make YouTube, etc., I needed more. So my parents said, all right, we can pay for a little bit of it to help you get to the level that you need to be able to do stuff. I mean, to be fair, they didn't know about that I was doing YouTube and that sort of stuff. They probably thought it was more for I don't know, work. Who knows? Schoolwork. But they knew I did a bit of gaming, etc. But they didn't just buy me one. I mean, I'm not saying they have as much money as this. Clearly, they do not. Not in that ballpark, unfortunately. But the point remains, you can't just buy your kids these things. They've got to, in my opinion, pay for the vast majority, or at least work for it. And then if you want to help them out at the end as a birthday present or whatever, then that's up to you. But yeah, I was very grateful for having some help towards a computer that I wouldn't have been able to buy without their help. Long-winded way of saying, I like OP's sort of morals, and I hate the rest of her entitled family. It's also weird that the uncle, the love tap uncle, is oh, well, now I'm so upset about what I did. Just don't do it in the first place then. I've never hit anyone in my life. That's actually a fact. So I'm not upset that I've hit someone, because I haven't done it. I wouldn't do it. Strange. Anyway, let's move on. Next post. Goodness me. Really? I've just read the title. And more family came out of the woodwork. I thought I'd give a little info about what's currently going on here. Now, OP lists the cast again, just sort of breaking it down, which I'll go through just so everyone's on the same page. If you are watching on screen, this will help as well. If not, don't worry, I'll make it obvious. But LLTU is Little Love Tap Uncle, the one who slapped me. The visitors are the aunts, uncles, and cousins who came to try and persuade me to give them money. L is Lovely Lawyer. Blabbermouth now is the sister-in-law. So renamed just to Blabbermouth. And I'll let you in the secret, guys. This series is about this Blabbermouth. And that's probably going to be the title later down the line. Who couldn't keep her mouth shut and blabbed all kinds of things to the family. And then CLC is the certified loan cousin. The cousin who asked for and got a certified loan. He has since now paid it back in full. Okay, good. Let's get into it. First off, I'm dealing with some health issues. Not COVID related, thankfully, but I will need surgery. Remember again, guys, this is taking place in 2020. This post in particular, December the 8th, 2020. There will be a lawsuit against my little love tap uncle and the visitors. When? The date is set for January 2021 at this point. Let's hope it doesn't get postponed. My husband and I have written a letter that our lawyer can read in court in case we aren't able to be there, either in person or via video call. Blabbermouth's role is becoming clearer, but since we don't have the full picture yet, I'll update later. My uncle had a minor fracture in his cheekbone, apparently. Nothing major and didn't need surgery. Wow, you've packed a punch though, fair play. My husband, my lawyer and I have had some good, honest conversations about my own behaviour. Our lawyer's a friend I've known from way back, and he says that although I'm quite the gentle soul, I can also be strict, direct, and no nonsense. I've always been family oriented and willing to help others. Unfortunately, this has proved to be my downfall. My lawyer and husband agree that I can be more no nonsense and stricter when it comes to family too. I recognise this. I tend to sweep things under the rug because family. Stupid me. Since then, I've received great feedback from both of them, and I've sought out a therapist who says I've made improvements. Since the visit, which is what OP is now calling when all the visitors, all the cousins went to her place, my husband and I have been contacted by many family members from his side, mostly just asking questions since they'd only heard one side of the story and things were unclear to them. Some were understanding about the situation. They were honest, saying they felt left out. But as one cousin put it, to be honest, I wouldn't have thought of you either if something like this had happened to me. They said they'd appreciate any gesture, but they understood it wasn't their money to decide on. Unfortunately, there were also some family members who came to the defense of the visitors, saying things like, "What's the big deal? You've got plenty of money, just share. It's not like you'll miss it." Here we go again. They've been sending us daily messages. Hello, harassment charges, telling us we're selfish and that family should share when good luck comes their way. How many family members do you have? That is my question. Do you have like an army of them? Because your husband's side, right? And that's all these people. And we're not even getting onto your side yet. Wow. Then one day, we received a request for a Zoom call from a cousin who hadn't spoken to us at all. We accepted, only to find out it was a virtual ambush from the visit crew. Some family members had gathered online from their separate homes to talk to us. They got 2 minutes in before I made it clear I wanted to say something. "I want to say something," I said. The people said, "Okay, so you want us to share the money?" People replied, "Yes." Cue lots of behind kissing comments like, "Really? You're the best." Then I said, "Well, first, I want $2,000 from each of you." People cried in outrage. Loads of comments. Then someone said the magical words. "Why would I give you that amount of money? Me and my partner work hard for that money, and now you just demand it? You can't do that. We all work hard for our money." Yeah, so do we. What makes you think you can make the same demands of us and expect us to give in to them? I'll be honest, I loved the embarrassed silence that followed. The certified loan cousin was part of the call and said that when he heard about the whole thing, he asked for a certified loan for the down payment on his home. He explained the terms of the loan and that the lawyer he had review it said it was a good document. Strict, yes, but it protected both parties. My husband and I told them that that cousin was given the loan because he asked nicely and agreed to a certified loan. Someone asked if we'd do that again. We told them point blank that if somebody wanted to borrow money, we wouldn't be sure we'd agree because of a few things. 1, they acted entitled and treated us terribly. 2, you don't get to treat people this way and then kiss their behinds the moment you want something. And 3, they all have jobs, save for if it's a luxury. Another point, circumstances might change and we might not even be able to help. And finally, if, and that's a big if, we decide to help, we want every minuscule detail about what the money is for, and they have to agree to a certified loan. Most people back out when they realize there are strings attached, like a claim on their house, car, etc. It was very, very quiet after that. I told them I had a good idea why they wanted money, probably for a more luxurious car, to remodel a kitchen or bathroom that's still functioning, or to buy a fancy item they've been eyeing, or maybe a games console for their kids. Well, save up for it. More silence and a lot of embarrassed shifting on their part. My husband told them to stop harassing us. We were being blamed for tearing the family apart, but their own greed was doing that. Until now, there were no problems. We all got along fine. Then money came into the picture, and suddenly almost everyone turned into money-hungry morons. Yep, his words. He got emotional and said this wasn't the family he grew up with, and it hurt to see them change so much. Then came the apologies, from some of them. We left the Zoom meeting, telling them we didn't want to hear from them unless it came with an apology, and not to contact us until we had some space. Some have texted us those apologies, and my husband's had a few phone conversations with them. Others haven't changed their tune. They keep texting all kind of wailing stories about how much they need or deserve money. One cousin even texted me saying I deserve that slap in the face. Apparently because I'm not blood and should therefore bow to the will of the family. He even told my husband to get his wife back under control and be a good family member. He keeps harassing us and made some comments that hinted at me being hit again. I simply replied, "Have you talked to the love tap uncle about how his broken cheekbone feels?" And that shut him up. The certified loan cousin told me he suspects this cousin didn't want to meet my right fist either. He said he'd talked to him about it and was hinting something along those lines. Every text has been saved and is going onto a very big USB drive for my lawyer to get started on some nice cease and desist letters, as some of you may know them. The love tap uncle and the visitors have stopped contact when asked and advised to. So, that is the update up to this point. On a more positive note, certified loan cousin and his girlfriend bought their house, and once it was ready, they invited us to visit, masked and distance. They've turned a house into a home. It was good to see the pride and joy coming from them. I mean, my question is, why can't everyone in your family just be like the certified loan cousin? He is reaping the rewards of like getting a normal loan. And who knows? Maybe because he's been so good with this and has paid you back promptly and has used it for exactly what he said he was going to use it for, invited you round, and you're happy with the money that you've loaned out, and he's obviously super happy, him and his family. Maybe in the future, you might say, you know what? He was so good in the past and did exactly what we asked of him and used our money super well that this time we're going to give him like a gift of money instead. Say he's like, you know what? It's just chats at a barbecue. The house is great. I kind of want to like redo the kitchen. Instead of him getting a loan or something this time, or even like asking for the cash, you might just say, yeah, you know what? Go for it. Have some money. Have 10k. Get it done. And that's the way of doing it. Like with all this, it's your money. And if you want to give it to your family or spend it however you like, that's your decision. The problem is when you have your family members come to you saying, we deserve this money, when they don't. The aftermath concerning the visit, part 1. Explanation. First, I want to say that I've read all the comments. Thank you for taking the time to read my post and leave your thoughts. Also, I had my surgery and I'm recovering, slowly but steadily. My husband and the kids have been a huge help. Bless them. I also read some speculation about the college funds. Just to clarify, where I live, college isn't insanely expensive like it is in the USA. These funds are meant to cover community college type education or trade school, which is much less expensive than private or top tier universities. Also, the funds only cover tuition and books, no rent, extracurricular activities, or living expenses. So no, it doesn't cost millions as some people have suggested. As for the mortgages, they were not entirely paid off. I gave my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, as well as my brother, a sum that helped them significantly, but they paid off the remainder themselves. Regarding the investments, these were made before my husband was in the picture. I invested in some companies and technologies that later grew significantly. Not all of them paid off, but some did, and we count ourselves very lucky. A portion of the money goes towards our retirement funds and to charities both at home and abroad. I took investment advice from a professional when I first started, and I also completed a few investment courses. I was about 23 when I began. Also, I noticed that someone on YouTube had used my stories, and I read the responses. Some people asked why I would help a sister-in-law who ended up behaving the way she did. The answer is simple. We love her kids. The help was more for them than for her or her husband. Another reason was fairness. We wanted to treat people equally if possible. I now realize this may not have been the smartest approach. The final reason was that we had observed decent behavior for a while and thought that maybe she'd finally learn some manners. Now, back to the situation with a bit of backstory. Last time we left off, a group of aunts, uncles and cousins had come to our home, demanding and screaming for money. One of the uncles earned that nickname, the little love tap uncle, for the slap he gave me. One of the cousins who had received a certified loan has since paid back the full amount. I asked the family not to contact me directly and instead to reach out to my lawyer. To their credit, most respected this request. They did ask for a Zoom call to explain themselves, and my lawyer, husband and I agreed we'd considered that after the court cases were over. Also, the infamous $800,000 request was not per child as some assumed. It was actually a total sum meant to be split among all the grandchildren of the remaining family members. I went back over the recording to confirm that. Apologies for the earlier confusion. As it turns out, they'd basically made up a number and figured they'd see where it landed. Oh, and by the way, the Love Tap uncle's broken cheekbone wasn't broken, just severely bruised. Gossip grapevines aren't the most reliable sources. We also had to deal with the harassment from other family members following the virtual visits. Now, on to the update. I don't know every detail of the court proceedings as I couldn't attend due to non-COVID health issues. Most communication took place via online meetings because of ongoing COVID protocols. My Love Tap uncle was charged with trespassing, assault, and threatening bodily harm. He pled guilty. His lawyer stated that he had voluntarily begun anger management courses, and reports from both his therapist and a court-ordered psychologist confirmed what we suspected. This behavior was out of character, and he genuinely regrets his actions. According to my lawyer, the judge gave the uncle a very hard time. He didn't take kindly to a man hitting a woman and asked some tough questions. Mainly, why did he do it? And here's where it gets juicy. It turns out that Blabbermouth dumped kerosene on a fire that hadn't even been lit before her involvement. Prior to her calls and texts, the rest of the family didn't even know about our financial situation. We'd asked those who did know to keep it quiet, and they had. Until now. Blabbermouth called the uncle and the rest of the family to tell them all about the money and how we were refusing to share it. Then came the lies. She turned on the waterworks, claiming I mocked their financial situations, flaunted my wealth, and treated them with disrespect and spite. She played the victim, accusing me of all kinds of horrible things, including making fun of their life choices, careers, ambitions, you name it. She pushed every emotional button they had, and she pushed hard. The reason the rest of the visitors went off the rails was, again, thanks to Blabbermouth and her manipulative storytelling. Honestly, that woman deserves an Oscar for her performance. The uncle and the visitors have since apologized for whatever it's worth. The judge asked if my lawyer had any input from our side, and my lawyer read the letter we had written. He told the court that we were deeply hurt by everything that had happened, that we never intended any harm or disrespect, and that we had simply chosen to use our money as we saw fit. We would have been willing to help those who truly needed it, but having money does not mean it should be handed out like dust in the wind. My lawyer also stated that we were angry at their entitlement, at them showing up, and of course at the slap in my face. I used to respect them deeply, but I will not accept this kind of behavior from anyone. I asked the judge to ensure there were consequences. If that meant a criminal record or a sentence, so be it. Why should I feel compassion for people who felt the need to threaten and attack me? The Love Tap uncle was sentenced to 18 months of community service, a fine, and had to pay court costs. He's also required to continue anger management classes for at least another year. An evaluation will determine whether anything further is needed. From what I've been told, this will go on some sort of official record. I've accepted this outcome. The visitors were also charged with harassment and threatening a person. They pled guilty and were given a hefty fine plus 6 months of community service. I've accepted that outcome too. And just so it's clear, they had already received and paid fines for breaking social distancing laws during their little yard invasion. Some other family members received the equivalent of cease and desist letters from my lawyer after the virtual visit, since a few of them kept harassing us. It's been quiet ever since. That was part 1. I'll post another update soon about what happened after the court cases. And let's get straight into that. So here we go then. Part 2 posted 4 days after part 1. After the court cases, we arranged a Zoom call with the aunts, uncles, and cousins involved, where the full story came out, not just what my Love Tap uncle had told in court. That's when the role Blabbermouth played became completely clear. Both my lawyer and their lawyer were present. They apologized and explained that they had felt genuinely hurt and angry, and that Blabbermouth had insisted they go and claim their rightful share because they deserved it. She told them I had said incredibly hurtful things, that they were family and they were entitled to it. Family shares, she said. They told us she openly admitted to manipulating them and claimed it worked. They repeated some of the insults and horrible actions that Blabbermouth had accused me of. They were hyped up by her, and yes, by their own greed too. But they now understand that this money is ours to do with as we choose. They acknowledge that our relationship is permanently damaged. They seem to realise that we're not willing or able to forget what happened. The attack on me, my character, and to some extent my husband as well. To be safe, I've put a no contact order in place against them for at least 1 year. It also dawned on them that breaking that order even once would mean they'd be seeing law enforcement again, because I don't back down. And they finally seem to understand that if we were ever willing to help anyone financially in the form of loans, they completely destroyed that possibility. We were brutally honest with each other. I was angry. I told them they're adults and should have known better than to jump to conclusions. When they first contacted me, I'd been calm and composed, but not this time. I let everything out. I told them the very least they could have done was show the decency and clarity of mind to ask the other party, me, for my side of the story and actually listen with an open mind. Instead, they chose to blindly believe the version that suited their narrative. I tore into them. I was, according to my husband and my lawyer, absolutely brutal. For 20 minutes, I laid it all out, no filter. My husband and lawyer both said they were not just impressed, but a little scared. After a lot of conversation, the call finally ended. The relationship might never fully heal, but at least we got everything on the table. I've made peace with that. If they could do what they did, then I don't want them as family in the first place. My lawyer said he thinks I've learned the hard lesson I needed to learn. Don't let people off the hook just because they're family. However, a few family members who weren't involved in the visit contacted me after the virtual call. They were curious how it was even possible to earn or acquire so much money. I shared a bit of info about investing and passed along the number of an advisor if they wanted professional help. Along with that, I gave a very clear warning. Investing has risks. I've made a lot of money, yes, but I've lost a good amount too. I told them plainly that if investing would put them into debt, they shouldn't do it. They thanked me for being honest. As for college funds or any kind of financial support for them, we won't be doing that. Not only because we don't have those kinds of close ties with them, but because we don't want anyone thinking that money can be guilted or demanded out of us with this kind of behavior. I didn't really have a relationship with most of them to begin with. Still, you don't treat family or anyone the way they treated us. My husband is still shaken by the whole thing. The family he remembered as mostly generous turned on us so easily. It really rattled him to see how quickly things changed and how he and I were treated. I just hope he'll be alright in the long run. So, that is the part of the story concerning my little love tap uncle and the visitors. I honestly wonder what the future will bring. Well, the good news is we don't have to wait too long, as of course there are still so many posts to go in this story. And just a couple of months later, we got an update. Not really on, I suppose, the future of what's going to happen with the entire family and this story, but more an update on OP's sister-in-law, Blabbermouth herself, and what happened next with her and her immediate family. And ultimately, that's kind of what we want to know about, right? This story is about this crazy, manipulative, as we've just seen, woman and her insane actions. So I'm excited to get into that. But before we do, I do need to say about the visitors or the family that were on that Zoom call. Like, you can't just say, oh, I'm really sorry, didn't actually think about it. We just had all this information from your sister-in-law and we just thought, yeah, you know what, we are entitled to this money. And that's why we did it. I'm so sorry. Like, that is the most spineless thing ever. If you're not willing to then go to the other person involved, as OP said, and say, is this true? Whatever. Like, just saying off the bat, listening to that information from somebody else, oh, yeah, you're right, I do deserve all this money that isn't mine. Like the point is, it's not a good excuse to say, oh, well, your sister-in-law told us this, therefore we acted like this. It makes no sense to me. And OP was well within her rights and did the right thing by having a go at them for 20 minutes. That sounds amazing, and I, for one, want to see the recordings. The aftermath concerning Blabbermouth Part 1. The last post was about what happened with my little love tap uncle, the visitors, and the aftermath surrounding them. This one is about Blabbermouth, my oh so lovely, not, sister-in-law who instigated the entire mess. Well, 2 of her kids have moved out after a very bad fight with her. The eldest, who is a 26-year-old woman, and her boyfriend already had a home waiting and just moved in. The renovations aren't finished, but she said she didn't care. They're sleeping on air mattresses in one of the bedrooms, and the rest of the house is still a mess because there's a lot left to renovate. The second kid, a 24-year-old man, is staying with his girlfriend at her parents' house where he helps with bills. Both of them have gone no contact with their parents after finding out what happened, specifically what their mother did. Two of the younger kids, 21 and 19, are extremely annoyed but can't move out yet. They're not speaking to their mother and spend a lot of time sleeping at friends' places. The 17-year-old, however, still sides with his mother. But he's the baby, and Blabbermouth has always spoiled him. I've read some comments suggesting we cut Blabbermouth's children off. No, I'm not going to do that. The 17-year-old actually did a Blabbermouth and tried demanding money. I told him flat out, if he wanted his education largely paid for by my husband and me, then he needed to stop what he was doing and meet the requirements tied to that money. Otherwise, bye-bye funds. I made it very clear that if he starts acting like his mother, he can say goodbye to financial help. Edited to add, yes, the money comes with requirements, very strict ones. If they're not met, the money stops. I'm not entirely stupid. So far, he's stopped. His siblings tell me he's actually hilarious when he throws his temper tantrums about it. As expected, my brother-in-law and Blabbermouth aren't thrilled about my stance, as if I care. The rest of the family have also let her know exactly what they think. They called her, gave her a piece of their minds, and went full-on no contact. Blabbermouth and my brother-in-law are now pariahs within the family. One cousin who'd agreed to help paint their house, not happening anymore. Another uncle who used to service their car for a discount told them to find another garage. A different cousin who was going to renovate their roof gave back the money they paid and told them to find someone else. My mother-in-law is heartbroken, and that's what hurts. I don't think she ever imagined her own daughter would do something like this, something that would rip the family apart. She still has contact with her grandkids, but her relationship with Blabbermouth is strange. Same goes for my father-in-law. Every Saturday, we used to have coffee with immediate family. My mother-in-law, father-in-law, Blabbermouth, my brother-in-law, their kids if they had time, us, and my other sister-in-law. We still see everyone else, but we avoid the meetups if we know Blabbermouth will be there. If we happen to arrive and see her pulling up, we pack our things and leave. Blabbermouth has been badgering my husband, me, and the kids, alternating between apologies and playing the victim. She didn't mean for this to happen. She's sorry, acting like she did nothing wrong. One time, she called my husband and he put her on speaker because I was curious to hear just how deep she'd dig herself, and she didn't disappoint. I ended up laughing hysterically while she spewed nonsense through the phone. I told her, point blank, if she didn't want this to happen, then why did she do it? Why did she tell all those lies? She just wanted money and used the rest of the family as her little minions to get it. Because if I'd pay for them, I could pay for her, right? She went silent. My lawyer is currently looking into whether any legal action can be taken against Blabbermouth. He has all the texts from both of us and other family members. Right now, he's gathering evidence for slander, harassment, and instigating both harassment and violence. He's digging deep and wants a solid case to throw everything at her. He even contacted the rest of the family to see if they were willing to hand over messages voluntarily. Most of them did. After the last phone call, Blabbermouth was blocked on our phones, emails, and social media. Once she realized she was blocked, she actually came to our house to try and sweet talk her way out of the mess. Her other brother came with her. They've even shown up together when they knew my husband wouldn't be home, trying to either intimidate or manipulate me. My answer? I called the police. Next, Blabbermouth tried slandering us to people around town. Unfortunately for her, that backfired hard. She now gets side-eyed by just about everyone in the area. But then she did something that actually scared us. One day a week, my mother-in-law picks up our youngest kids from school. They go to her place, have a snack, then the eldest, who goes to secondary school, joins them later. They do their homework there and then either stay for dinner or come home with us. On one of those days, my mother-in-law and father-in-law were running late due to a doctor's appointment. Blabbermouth was waiting outside our youngest kid's school. Why? We don't know. Thankfully, the kids saw her and stayed inside. Our eldest had finished school early and decided to walk to their school to wait with them and my mother-in-law. He saw Blabbermouth, went inside, and waited with his siblings. She left shortly after. We updated the school immediately. They promised to call the police if she spotted again. In the meantime, we're waiting for approval on a no-contact order against both her and my brother-in-law. We've also moved to a new place. Initially, we didn't want to, but with everything that happened, we figured it was the safest decision. Word got out, and suddenly we had a lot of overly friendly neighbors. It didn't feel right. Now we're living in a town where my brother resides. The house is similar to our old one, and our kids already know other kids their age in the area. They'll be starting at their new school in September. Our eldest will stay at his current school. There's a solid bus route that makes the commute short and manageable. The best part, my brother lives just a 2-minute walk from us. The neighbours are friendly and welcoming. My parents also moved to a smaller home nearby, and no, we didn't pay for it. They were adamant that we wouldn't. The only thing we covered was the moving truck rental, with solid insurance, which made my mum froth at the mouth because she didn't even want us to pay that. When my husband and I are working, my parents sometimes swing by to check on the house. We don't mind. They've never done anything to make us question their trust. We're also looking into how to better protect ourselves. My husband, lawyer, and I are going over all the legal options. The new house already has security cameras with audio and video. Everything is recorded and backed up. Things are finally starting to calm down. We're still close with my husband's other sister, my brother, and other family members who had nothing to do with this mess. So that is the update part 1 about Blabbermouth. I'll post part 2 soon. And thankfully, OP did. Just a few days later, actually, about 11 days later, we got part 2. We had a lot of conversations with my father-in-law about Blabbermouth's behaviour. He believes it mostly stems from jealousy. My husband and I went through several years of financial hardship before things got better. Even before we came into money, we lived a relatively comfortable life after gaining more financial stability. Blabbermouth, my brother-in-law, and their family weren't dirt poor, but they didn't enjoy as many holidays, weekends away, or day trips as we did. Things slowed down when our kids were born, but we still managed to go away from time to time, mostly thanks to my husband's knack for finding amazing travel deals, something our eldest is now learning too. My father-in-law thinks that's when the jealousy started, and that it only got worse after we came into more money. I asked if he thought she believed we were flaunting our wealth. He said it was possible. My husband and I believe her behaviour is a mix of jealousy and entitlement. She has always seemed to believe that she or her family should be the centre of attention, that they should benefit even when something isn't about them. It's like she thinks she deserves everything, even if it's not hers to ask for. According to my husband, this attitude started in childhood and just followed her into adulthood. I also asked my father-in-law why she disrespects me and my job. He said that, again, it's probably jealousy. I managed to complete college, earned both my bachelor's and master's degrees, and I've always worked, albeit less when our kids were born. Blabbermouth didn't pursue higher education. She's qualified as a childcare provider for daycare centres, and that's where it ends. She stopped working for years and eventually started cleaning homes to bring in a bit of extra cash. My father-in-law thinks that my educational rap sheet, as he jokingly called it, impressed her in the wrong way. She was jealous. Especially since, even before the investments paid off, I was earning significantly more than she ever did. Sometimes I wonder whether I did the right thing helping them at all. My intentions were good. I know how important education is, and I knew their kids would struggle to access college without taking on huge amounts of debt, either themselves or on their parents. My own parents worked hard to make sure my brother and I started adulthood debt-free, and I wanted to do the same for our nieces and nephews. And, to their credit, our nieces and nephews have always been incredibly grateful. They know exactly how much effort, time, and thought we put into helping them. They've never taken it for granted. At this point, we are completely no contact with both my brother-in-law and Blabbermouth. They don't know our current address, and we now have a PO box in another town. I changed my personal phone number, though I kept the old one for business purposes and for evidence gathering. We've been granted a temporary no contact order from the court. They're not allowed to contact us in any way, not even through third parties. We're hoping to extend it to at least 1 year, maybe even 2, if possible. Blabbermouth is also facing charges of defamation, harassment, and instigating violence. My lawyer is digging deep and throwing everything he legally can at her. The one thing I'm really thankful for is our friends. They never changed. They knew we had money, and they simply didn't care. What mattered to them was that we've always been there for them, and they've been there for us in both the good and bad times. My mother-in-law and father-in-law do know where we live, but they don't have the address written down anywhere. My husband drove them over once. He made it very clear to my mother-in-law that under no circumstance is she to give the address to anyone, not even directions. If somebody wants to contact us, she can pass on a message or phone number and we'll take it from there. The reason? My mother-in-law has a soft spot for Blabbermouth. Always has. She's asked a few times if reconciliation might be possible. We've said firmly, not at this point. Blabbermouth hasn't shown the slightest shred of genuine remorse. She's still trying to deny everything that happened and somehow twist it all back onto us. She blew up our family relationships all by herself. So, no. My mother-in-law kept pushing, saying Blabbermouth didn't mean it or didn't want this to happen. That was the moment I snapped. I actually love my mother-in-law, truly. She's sweet, kind, and has done so much for us, especially our kids. But I told her what I told Blabbermouth. You should be grateful for what you're given. Instead, she got greedy. I got slapped. I received threats against my life, against my husband's life, and even threats against our children. I don't care how heated the moment was. What kind of person lets things escalate to that point? Eventually, I got up and left. My husband and father-in-law had a talk with my mother-in-law afterwards. They made it clear, this isn't ours to fix. The burden is on Blabbermouth and no one else. I did apologise to my mother-in-law for losing my cool, but I didn't apologise for the message. That still stands. This entire situation has shaken me to my core. I've done things that go completely against my nature. I've always been the type to help where I can, even when we didn't have much money or were in debt. People were welcome at our table. They could stay over, eat with us, lean on us. Now, I constantly wonder if someone's sob story is sincere or just a tactic to get money out of me. It makes me feel like an ATM, nothing more. Do I regret helping? Yes and no. The 4 eldest children of Blabbermouth are doing great. So is my other sister-in-law, my parents, my brother, and his family. The certified loan cousin is thriving. He and his girlfriend are planning a few projects for their home and are saving towards them. He asked for investment advice and I gave him a list of websites for courses and the number of the person who helped me years ago. We created a savings plan together and I helped them build a budget. I actually volunteer for an organisation that helps people manage debts. My only real regret is helping her, Blabbermouth, giving her the chance to share in our good fortune. But honestly, if I hadn't helped her, I don't think the outcome would have been any different. She probably would have acted the same way regardless. I'm sure she'll pop up again at some point, rearing her ugly head into our lives. But if she does, my dear friend, my lawyer, will be more than ready. He'll be sharpening his legal knives with a grin. As of now, we're just waiting for Blabbermouth's court case. And to see what happens in that, guys, you're going to have to subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on so you get notified when I post the next episode in this series, episode 4, which may or may not include that court case. Who knows? I don't want to give any spoilers. So, yeah. Just subscribe, turn notifications on, and you will see when the next episode is uploaded. A couple of things I do just want to say, though, before we end this one. Firstly, I didn't really mention it after the first 2 posts in this episode, but I just feel very bad for your husband, and I understand why he is so shaken by this whole thing, because ultimately, this is his family. As I said at the end of the last episode, episode 2, like, we don't really know anything that's going on from your side of the family at all, OP, but this is all his family, and so I'm sure that he sort of, like, feels guilty for it, right? Like, it's his sister that's doing all this stuff, not yours. And the only reason that she is in your life is, of course, because of him. Now, obviously, it doesn't really work like that. And yeah, she shouldn't feel guilty, but I presume that he does. And that's why he's shaken, because his family that he's known his entire life, that he's thought were great and really trusted, actually, they've shown themselves to be like this when it's come down to it. Obviously, not a nice feeling. Fair enough. And secondly, I get it. It's hard for your husband's mum to not side with her daughter or recognize how horrible she's being, but she needs to sort of look at the facts and say to herself, my daughter has tried to coerce, or has coerced actually successfully, our pretty much entire family into threatening and at one point actually physically harming my son's wife. That is a crazy statement. And knowing that, how can you side with your daughter? Are you kidding me? I don't believe it. This has to be a joke. A full-on absurd, you've got to be kidding me kind of joke. Let's start with joke number 1. I think someone has figured out where we live. Last Sunday, we woke up to find that the tyres on both of our cars had been slashed. All of them. As if that wasn't enough, there was some delightful artwork carved into the sides of both cars. Deep scratches, absolutely intentional. Just standing there looking at the damage, I had one of those surreal moments where your brain just refuses to process what your eyes are seeing. So, what did little old me and my husband do? If you guessed, check the security footage, you're absolutely right. Our cars are parked several streets over from the house, part of the long list of security precautions we've taken. They're equipped with dash cams that run 24/7. This wasn't paranoia, it was preparation. We popped out the memory cards, replaced the cameras with backups, and sat down to watch the footage. We saved everything, made duplicates, and then watched to see who the heck would be stupid enough to do this. If you guessed Blabbermouth, surprise, it wasn't her. It was one of my husband's cousins. Yes, that cousin. The one who told me I should bow down to the will of the family and that my husband needed to get his woman under control. The same one who's been hounding us with text messages trying to justify why he deserved a college fund, a house deposit, and who knows what else. That cousin. So we did what anyone would do. We called the police. And we didn't just hand over the footage. We included stills, printed photos, screenshots of the cousin's social media, his home address, phone number, and email. Every last detail. Because when someone damages your property and threatens your sense of safety, you don't half-step. You go all in. After that, my husband called his mother to ask, gently but firmly, if there was any chance she had accidentally revealed our address. She said no, and my father-in-law backed her up. They're now both racking their brains, trying to remember if they might have mentioned something in passing to the wrong person at the wrong time. I reached out to my family as well. They're combing through their own recent conversations, just in case something was said without realizing the consequences. Everyone's on alert now. And then, joke number 2. Blabbermouth and my brother-in-law have filed a lawsuit. Yep, you heard that correctly. They filed a lawsuit against me and, to a certain extent, against my husband too. You'll never guess what they're claiming. Actually, you probably will. Defamation. They're claiming that all the drama that's fallen on their heads is my fault. That I went around the town gossip chain, spreading malicious lies and turning people against them. According to them, I've destroyed their standing in the community, made them social outcasts, and now they want compensation for their ruined reputation. And to show just how reasonable they are, they're offering to settle just to keep it out of court. The kicker, the one who actually did the talking, was Blabbermouth's own mother. Yep, her. My mother-in-law was so upset and disappointed about everything that had happened that she told the truth to friends, neighbors, basically everyone. And now, Blabbermouth's real enemy is reality. When we showed the letter to my lawyer, he literally laughed out loud, like full-on cackling. He's already working on our official response and having the time of his life doing it. When I read the letter myself, I didn't know whether to scream or laugh. Honestly, I felt both. Angry because of the sheer audacity, but also amused at how pathetic this latest move was. This is what Blabbermouth is resorting to now? A Hail Mary lawsuit? Very well then, game on. She wants to play dirty, she's going to meet someone with a better lawyer, stronger evidence, and the stamina to see this through. Bring it. So, who else's jaw just dropped to the bottom of the ocean? Wow, defamation. Incredible. To be honest, I don't think I'm actually that surprised. It just seems like the sort of thing that Blabbermouth would do. I'm just very sorry that, it's only been a couple of weeks since you've moved, right? Or, a month or so at most. And already your husband's family know where you live. That's just terrible. Like, you were so against the idea of moving in the first place. I think you then came around to the fact that maybe it was the right thing to do. But now that they know where you live, it's like, was it even worth it? All that effort for what? Yeah, I know you're closer to your family now, whatever, and you are further away from them in theory, and not everybody knows about your situation, but it's just tough. It's just tough. But there we go. That is the first of 5 posts in this episode. Let's get into the second to see what happens next. All right, 6 days later, we got a small update on the cousin and the lawsuit. I've got a small update, both on the cousin who decided to take his frustrations out on our cars, and also on the lawsuit that Blabbermouth tried to throw at us. Let's start with the cousin. From what we've heard, he's either lost his job or is in deep trouble at work. Apparently, his boss found out about the vandalism, the fact that he slashed our tyres and scratched up both cars, and that it was all caught on camera. I've got no idea how the boss got wind of it, and honestly, I don't care. What I do know is that his boss is not happy. At all. We've been hearing two different versions of events from the family members who don't have a no contact order against us. Some say he was fired, others say he's on the verge of it. What I know for sure is that his little stunt has made things very unpleasant for him at work. We now also have a temporary no contact order in place against him. The damages to the cars are scheduled to be fixed in about 2 weeks. He's been informed of the total cost of the damage, and no, the insurance isn't covering any of it. Turns out, when you're the one who deliberately destroys someone's property, the insurance company politely declines to save you, so he'll be paying for everything out of pocket. Oh, and he'll be seeing the inside of a courtroom, either in August or September. Can't say I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also not losing sleep over it. We also found out how he located our cars. Apparently, one of his friends lives in the same neighborhood we moved to. We had no idea. The cousin told his friends his version of events, probably a very dramatic, heavily edited one, and the friend recognized us and mentioned it to him. I wonder what that friend thinks now after seeing what the cousin did. And now, let's talk about the lawsuit. So first off, my dear friend, my lawyer, received his usual batch of cookies and loved them. Priorities, right? Now, onto the real news. My lawyer responded to Blabbermouth's lawyer's initial threats by sending over a lovely little bundle of texts, voicemails, and emails. Evidence, in other words. Along with that, he included a very clear note stating that if Blabbermouth didn't drop the lawsuit, we would countersue and seek damages of our own. And guess what? It turns out there were people wondering whether Blabbermouth had lied to her lawyer. Spoiler alert, of course she did. She told a whole slew of lies, made up an entire narrative, and even went so far as to fabricate evidence to support her claims. My lawyer spotted the fake stuff immediately. Her lawyer, however, was not amused. After reviewing what my lawyer sent back and realizing what kind of client he was dealing with, he dropped Blabbermouth and my brother-in-law as clients. Oh, how I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for that conversation. The moment their lawyer sat her down and told her, "Yeah, no, I'm done," it must have been glorious. Now I'm left half wondering what she's going to try next. Honestly, part of me wants to grab some popcorn and a soda, because whatever's coming is bound to be a show. And let's not waste any time here, guys. Let's get straight in to the next post. How my entitled cousin met Frou-Frou. Okay, maybe we'll have to wait a little bit to hear what happens next with Blabbermouth herself. Hey people, I have another update on my entitled cousin. He's the douche canoe who said I should bend to the will of the family. Honestly, I'm out of ideas for a better nickname at this point. Our lawyer friend is also part of this little episode. We're still waiting for the court date, but apparently some new charges are being added to the list alongside vandalism and destruction of property. It's worth mentioning as well that this post came a few days after the previous one on August the 13th, so actually a couple of weeks after. Anyway, my entitled cousin didn't slash our tires or scratch our cars this time. So, progress? Well, instead he got the pleasure of meeting Frou-Frou, our neighbour's dog, and our neighbour himself. Since it's summer, my husband and I decided to take another local holiday. With COVID still being a factor, we didn't feel comfortable travelling abroad to our holiday home. We're vaccinated, but the kids aren't yet, so we figured a domestic trip was the safer call. It turned out to be a great choice. The kids got to hit the pool a few times. We had to make reservations and made friends with other kids. Overall, it was a lovely time. Then, halfway through the holiday, I get a call from my little big brother. He's younger, but taller than me, and he tells me that the entitled cousin has been arrested again. This time, he actually found our home, and you'll never guess what he tried to pull. No, he didn't throw rocks through the windows, no graffiti either. Mr. Smarty Pants decided he was going to break in. Our backyard is surrounded by a high wooden fence. The way it's built makes it really hard to climb. But my entitled cousin showed up in the dead of night or early morning with a ladder, propped it up against the fence, and climbed into our backyard, tools in hand, trying to break in through the back door. Good luck with that. Our place is locked down like Fort Knox. Now, here's where it gets brilliant. Our neighbour walks his dog Frou-Frou first thing in the morning, every morning. Everyone in the neighbourhood knows them and loves them. Our neighbour has a bit of a reputation for catching people where they shouldn't be, and he knows we weren't home. So when he sees a random ladder leaning against our fence, he immediately knows something's up. He hears noise in the backyard and realizes someone's trying to break in. So what does he do? He helps Frou-Frou climb the ladder and drop into the yard. Frou-Frou, by the way, is not some dainty little fluffball. He's a cane corso, big, strong and protective. Sweet dog, but don't mess with him. The neighbor's wife named him after the little dog footstool from Beauty and the Beast, which makes the whole thing even better. So here comes this massive, trained dog dropping into our backyard like a furry security system. My entitled cousin, in all his brilliance, decides to throw some tools at Frou-Frou, which unsurprisingly doesn't go over well. Frou-Frou barks, then charges. My cousin barely manages to climb up onto a table before Frou-Frou gets to him. The dog doesn't bite, he's trained not to unless commanded, but he definitely made it clear my cousin wasn't going anywhere. Meanwhile, my neighbour's standing on the ladder, listening to my cousin scream like a child, and calls the police. My cousin got hauled off in the back of a squad car and will be staying in jail until his hearing. My lawyer pushed hard for that. It turns out the no contact order we already had wasn't enough to keep my entitled cousin away, so now we're pushing for more. We sent all the footage to the authorities, and Frou-Frou got a bunch of well-deserved doggy snacks. My neighbour and his wife got a proper thank you from us too. And I'll be honest, when we got home and the kids were offered a sleepover, my husband and I poured ourselves a drink, grabbed some popcorn, and re-watched the security footage. It was gold. We watched it again and again, and yes, we laughed hard, because sometimes karma barks. I mean, I know I've titled this series really Blabbermouth Sister-in-Law, as in she is the most important person in this series, and I think that is still true up to this point, but goodness me, this entitled cousin is really going about trying his hardest to become the number one antagonist in this story. Breaking into somebody's house? What are you doing? And also, what are you even trying to achieve? Like, once he's broken in there, what's the objective? I don't really understand it. Maybe like try and destroy some evidence against him and Blabbermouth? I don't know. If you've got any ideas, jump in the comments down below and let me know. But yeah, this guy is really pushing to be the number one sort of villain in this story. All right, now on to the next post, and how about this for a sad title? And now my own extended family knows as well. My own extended family found out that I have money as well. I don't have many aunts and uncles left, but I do have plenty of cousins, mostly on my dad's side. He had 6 sisters, and they all had children. Out of all of them, only 4 cousins are younger than I am. I've not spoken to most of them in 20 years. The only contact I've had with them was at the occasional funeral. I have no real relationship with them, and it's been that way for decades. So, imagine my joy when I started getting messages from these long-lost cousins who had heard from various people that I have money. As soon as I read those messages, I mentally braced myself for another trash storm. And yep, they were annoyed. They wanted to know why I never told anyone. One of them even went off in full rant mode, raging about how unfair it was, that I could have let them know, and on and on and on. When she finally finished, I asked, maybe a bit too bluntly, if she was done so I could explain. I made a group chat and wrote out the entire story of what's been happening with the rest of this family. I laid everything out clearly, honestly, and at the end, I finished with the words, "This is why I never told you." Bold, underlined, huge letters. Several of them were shocked that this stuff had actually happened. I asked them directly, why were they upset I didn't tell them? Nobody really answered that at first, until I said maybe it's because they were hoping to benefit from it. Suddenly, there were a lot of, "No way," and "How can you think that of us?" responses. I told them the truth, that after everything I've been through, after all the lies and attacks, I've lost a lot of trust in people. That's just the way it is now. To cut to the chase, a couple of them asked if they could get some money. Not borrow, get. Others said they'd be interested in a loan if that was possible, so I uploaded the document that I signed with my certified loan cousin. I told them those were the rules. They could read it or not, but if they wanted to borrow, that's the standard. Then one cousin messaged and asked if I could call him. I did. He told me his daughter is severely ill. I'm not going to name the illness for privacy, but without treatment, she's likely to die. There's a specific treatment in the US that might help, The chances are slim, but if it works, she could survive and have a decent quality of life. The issue? The treatment isn't covered by insurance. After everything I've been through, I didn't trust the story right away, so I asked for details. He invited me to visit, so I did. His daughter was in the hospital, and he hadn't lied. God, that girl. She's in her early 20s, but the room looked like something out of a trauma ward. Tubes, monitors, books scattered on the bed as she tried to do homework. I swear I could almost see death standing next to her, waiting. She was so brave. We talked, and later her attending doctor came in to speak with me. He gave me a basic explanation and then invited me to his office, where he gave me the full picture. I went home afterwards and verified everything: his name, his credentials, his medical speciality. I spoke to my cousin again over the phone. I told him I hadn't made a decision yet, and I asked if the money was only needed for medical costs. He said yes. His wife, the girl's mother, would travel to the US with her, and they had just enough saved to cover those expenses. It would be tight, but they were only asking for help with the treatment cost. My husband and I talked, and after everything, we agreed to help. But, under strict conditions, we would only pay the exact amount given to us by the US hospital, no extras. The money would be paid directly to the hospital, not to them. We also added one final request, that whether the treatment succeeded or failed, they would commit to donating a small amount, over time if needed, towards further research for the illness. My lawyer drew up the contracts and had another lawyer, one who specializes in medical law, review it. I called my cousin again. I told him I had thoroughly investigated everything. I explained that I'd been lied to, manipulated, attacked, and I've lost trust in most people. I thanked him for being honest through it all and said I knew how hard this must be. Then I asked if his wife was with him. She wasn't, but he put me on speaker so she could hear. And that's when I told them. They both started crying, thanking me over and over. I explained that there would be very strict terms, and I sent them a draft of the agreement. I told them to have their own lawyer, or the hospital's legal team, review it thoroughly. If they agreed, we'd move forward. Later, their daughter called me too. Same reaction. She thanked me again and again. I just hope this time the money really does make a difference. Her doctor also contacted me, and we're in the process of arranging payment once the contract is signed. As for the rest of my family, some of them tried the greedy grab hands approach. My answer was simple: no. I gave them the number of the investment advisor I used, and I told them good luck. Then I blocked the beggars. I'm not worried about any of them finding out where I live. My parents, my brother, and my sister-in-law could win a tight-lip contest with an oyster. Yeah, I think it's just quickly worth pointing out that obviously OP doesn't mean Blabbermouth here, her other sister-in-law, but her brother's wife. Two very different people, it sounds like. I do just want to say, though, when you hear about a family like this, a person like this, who needs the money so much, or has such a clear use for the money to save someone's life potentially, and then you compare that to OP's husband's side of the family, who are literally just asking for money for luxury items or just for their life or whatever, just to have more money. And also, to be fair, some of OP's cousins as well, it seems like here. It's just like that sort of juxtaposition is so sad. You've got people that are like desperate, they give anything for that money. Then you've got other people who are like, oh, just give it to me, I just want it. It's like, if only they knew what that money could be used for. Say, for example, that OP had actually given loads of money to her husband's side of the family just because she was a nice person and was like, oh, I've got loads of money, whatever. Or, maybe she just felt pressured into it or something, or the threats had gotten to her. Anything could have happened there. Imagine she actually gave away like the majority of her money to people that didn't need it. And then on her side of the family, she gets this call. And somebody, a 20-year-old girl in her 20s, is about to pass away. And she doesn't now have the money to give her that surgery that could have saved her life. How terrible is that? It's absolutely insane. And also, I say what I say just there in terms of the people not realizing what that money could be used for. They must realize. Maybe they're just so obtuse that they don't know. But if you're getting money from someone else just to use on luxury items when there are other people in the world that are struggling, then, what does that say about you as a person? We already know the answer, but it's a disgrace. Anyway, There is one more post to come in this episode. It's an update to what I've just read. Let's get into it. It's simply titled an update. Now, this was actually posted quite a while after the previous post. The previous post was in August. This one is almost at the end of the year, the end of November. So what's that? August, September, October, November, 3 months later, right? Quite a while. Anyway, here we go. I have an update once more on the whole saga. I don't know if more updates will follow, but if something happens, I'll post here. The good news is that most family members have stopped bothering me and my husband. Our eldest has a social media account that we go through together, and he's received a few nasty messages through it. He blocked the senders, reported them, and thanks to our dear lawyer friend who sent out a few letters, it's gotten relatively quiet again. Those without a no contact order in place have started reaching out more often. People that my husband or I haven't spoken to in years suddenly want to check in. We keep it polite and pleasant, but we're keeping our distance too. No illusions here. The entitled cousin had to pay several fines, cover the damages, and he's now on 2 years of probation. At one point, he tried to threaten us again. We just told him that Frou would be more than happy to see him again. Blabbermouth now knows which town we live in. The entitled cousin seems to have told her. We've seen her around, but so far she's kept her distance, probably due to the no contact order. We're hoping it stays that way. Now, for the bad news. It's about my cousin's daughter, the one who was ill. Now, she was eventually allowed to return home for a while. It required a lot of equipment, medication, and effort, but everyone was so happy she could spend time at home. Since the pandemic began, she had been quarantining and rarely went out. Same for her dad and mum. They barely allowed any visitors, and when they did, their older children would quarantine, test beforehand, and wear masks while visiting. They took every precaution seriously because they were told that COVID could be deadly for her. When they did need to go out, they chose quiet times and empty places. They signed up for a grocery delivery service, and the driver, bless his heart, learned about their situation. He started disinfecting everything, wearing masks even when just dropping bags at the door. He wiped handles, crates, and bags. The dad and mum were both working from home full time. It was exhausting, but they did it for their daughter. I'll cut the story short. Their daughter died. She contracted COVID, and due to her already fragile immune system, she passed away. She didn't get it from her parents or siblings. They were testing regularly just to be sure. The likely source, a relative of her mum. This man didn't take COVID seriously. He went somewhere, developed symptoms, and only got tested because his boss wouldn't let him return to the job site without a negative result. He tested positive. Health services gave him instructions. His boss did too. He was told to quarantine and he would still be paid during that time. Around the same time, the girl's dad and mum noticed some wet spots on the wall next to her room. Figuring there was a leak, they called this relative for help. They explained the situation, made it clear how fragile their daughter's condition was, and asked him to take all precautions. He told them he'd tested negative. Maybe he thought that since he wasn't working, this was a good way to make some extra cash. While working, he of course had to go into their daughter's room. He took his mask off several times, complaining it was hot, that he needed air. He was reminded again and again to put it back on. Eventually, the dad and mum asked him to leave and not return. The work wasn't finished, but they didn't care anymore. The leak had been found and patched temporarily. A few days later, the daughter got very sick and had to be rushed to the hospital. She tested positive for COVID. She didn't make it. Devastated doesn't even begin to cover it. Her dad called me a few days later, crying. I knew what had happened the moment I heard his voice. In the background, I could hear her mum screaming. She was calling that relative, the one who came to help, and he admitted he had tested positive at the time. The dad ended the call with me quickly and went to deal with the situation. I don't know exactly what happened afterwards, but I was told that the mum screamed at him, cursed him out, tore into him for lying, knowing full well what was at stake. We were invited to the online funeral service. My husband and I both attended. We sent flowers and a card. That was almost 2 months ago now. Last night, the dad video called. He's a shell of a man, still shattered by the loss of his only daughter. His wife, well, she's not doing well either. It was absolutely heartbreaking to see them like that. We talked briefly about the funds. They thanked us again and said they'd like the money to go towards research. We agreed, of course. It was the least we could do. So, that is the update. Sooner than I would have liked, and not with the news I'd hoped to share. Stay safe, everyone. I hope you all have a good, and above all, healthy holiday season. Oh my goodness, what a terribly sad ending to that post. Yeah, unexpected, not the way I was expecting this story to go, just shocking, sort of like brings me right back to the hard times that were that COVID period, and yeah, it reminds me of how many people lost loved ones. Just incredibly sad. And again, I think it kind of adds to the point I was making after reading the previous post. Just, you've got people that are suffering so much in the world, like this girl in her 20s who passed away. And then on the other hand, you have entitled people who are like, give me money, I want it. And it's like, that is just ridiculous. The inside of a hospital, how my entitled cousin lost his job, and how Blabbermouth has the honor of meeting Frou. Dear people of Reddit, I thought that no more updates would be needed, as the peace seemed to have returned. It wasn't for long, however. It all starts with my entitled cousin and Blabbermouth staying in touch with each other. They kept complaining and apparently blaming all their misfortune on me. I am the source of their problems, and if I'd just done what I was supposed to do, then none of the bad things would have happened. My entitled cousin then had the bright idea that I should be punished. So, what did they talk about? Well, it put me in the hospital. The entitled cousin had some friend of his follow me. Since I don't work regular office hours, it took me about 3 weeks before I noticed the same person following me around. I got scared, as I've been followed in the past. Nothing came of it in the end, but it made me vigilant. I took some precautions to be sure, made reports with law enforcement, and asked our nice neighbour and his wife if they could keep an eye out. They would. This nice neighbour has experience as a PI, law enforcement, and specialises in training for police dogs and such. It happened about 2.5 weeks before Christmas. It's worth mentioning as well, guys, this was posted on January the 6th, 2022. I was walking on the street, talking on my phone, when the entitled cousin and that buddy of his dragged me into a quiet street and proceeded to beat me. In a lull, I managed to hit them where men tend to hurt a lot, add some blows where I could, before I set off an alarm with the volume of a ship's horn to alert people, and did my best to get away. Where I'm from, civilians aren't allowed to carry guns, tasers, or stun guns like in the US, so save the get a gun talk. Police and ambulance came, reports were made, the whole shebang. I was brought to the hospital, and the damage, a lot of bruises, 6 broken ribs, a broken wrist, and some bruising to organs. I'm doing alright. I had to stay for a little while as there were some concerns about my lung, liver, and kidneys. Now, who is wondering where Blabbermouth is in this story? Don't worry, I'll tell you. To preface, in the time we've lived in this neighbourhood, my nice new neighbours have become friends of me and my family. They both know what's happened, know about the money, and have provided friendship, sets of extra eyes, and a dog for my children to fawn over. My nice neighbours don't have children, not their choice, and they become another aunt and uncle to my kids. The children love them, and they are Fru's biggest kid fans. Also, it's worth mentioning as well that you guys let me know in the comments down below on the last episode that cane corsos are extremely, well, can be extremely sort of, I don't want to use the word violent, but strong. They're a mastiff. I didn't know this. It's sort of, well, they can be like a guard dog. According to Wikipedia anyway, they may be used to protect livestock, and they were used for hunting large game and to herd cattle in the past. So that's the sort of dog that OP's entitled cousin was dealing with. Anyway, our kids and our nice neighbours, just a little bit, were begging for a sleepover with them. So after quarantine, testing negative on PCR tests and such, my nice neighbours and Fru had my children over. Blabbermouth found out where my kids were. I think she's been following them. And on the day that the entitled cousin and his buddy were beating me up, she went to them while they were outside and tried to convince them to come with her. When they refused, she grabbed the youngest and tried to drag him with her. Bad move, Blabbermouth. Fru needed his walk, and my children took him for that walk. My nice neighbour was around, but not close enough to intervene swiftly. There was no need. Fru did. The moment she tried to drag my youngest away, Fru came sprinting towards them and started barking his head off, growling when he wasn't. The nice neighbor heard his dog, saw who was there with my kids, and called the cops while running towards the situation. A little while later, Blabbermouth got to quality test the backseat of a police vehicle. According to my neighbor, she was behaving like a Karen, I hope I used that term correctly, telling everybody in the vicinity how my neighbor should be arrested for having a vile and dangerous dog and that she didn't do anything wrong. Don't worry, you used the term Karen perfectly. She's out on bail and charged with attempted child abduction and breaking of the no contact order. My entitled cousin and his buddy also had bail set and paid it along with some nice charges. As to what Blabbermouth was thinking, I don't know. I know that my entitled cousin's idea was to beat me into submission. My husband had a not so nice chat on the phone with my entitled cousin's mum, as she called him and asked if we could drop the charges. It turns out that my entitled cousin's boss did fire him. It seems he had some disciplinary action going against him already, and this was the final straw in his boss's eyes. The cousin got to his work, only to be led into the office to meet with his resignation papers. We found out where his whole bow to the will of the family crap came from. Mummy dearest. She basically told my husband that if I had done what they asked, then nothing bad would have happened. I was from outside of the family. So is she, by the way, married to an uncle of my husband. So I should do as I was told. I just had enough time to get out some snacks and a drink to listen to the sweet sounds of him going ballistic. It was lovely and scary to hear. I took the phone when he took a breather, and I told her that I'd heard what she had to say, and the whole spiel of contact my lawyer, harassment, yada yada. Click and block. She hasn't called since. Note, my entitled cousin now has a good job that pays well. His wife also works, and they're able to pay the bills, save some as well, and have some extras to spend. He and his wife and family have a comfortable life. It's not like they're in dire straits with debts. So for people commenting that he must be desperate for money, he isn't. After this incident and a couple of attempted break-ins, a neighborhood watch was formed. We gave the people involved a photograph of Blabbermouth and of my entitled cousin. Told them only that we had no contact orders against them and asked them to call law enforcement if they were spotted in the neighborhood. All in all, we had a nice Christmas and New Year's Eve. We're doing as well as can be. I am still sore and have to go to the hospital for checkups. My husband and I are getting progressively concerned since my entitled cousin and Blabbermouth are not deterred by the piece of paper that states no contact order. Moving again is out of the question. When my husband and I were talking one night while the kids were in bed, my eldest had come downstairs and overheard us. He was adamant that he didn't want to move. His reasons were that if they did this and we moved again after each escalation, we'd have to keep moving. He felt safe in this home and with Frou and the nice neighbours in the vicinity. The other two agreed when we talked with them in the morning. The kids are shaken but doing relatively well. Due to what happened, we are also looking into therapy for all of us. The youngest is quite shaken, but for now is thinking more of how cool it was that Frou protected him and how Blabbermouth was trying to climb a car. Wow, sorry, is that how she tried to escape the dog? That's unbelievable. My eldest understands what has happened a bit better and is more fearful. Our nice neighbours have offered Frou for sleepovers so that the kids feel safer. We're also thinking about getting our own Frou. Our neighbours have already offered to help in the purchase and training of the dog. My husband is frantic with worry about what might have happened and what my entitled cousin might try in the future. We're also going to do some research on how to protect ourselves further. We're talking with law enforcement, our dear lawyer friend, and other people to see what's possible in terms of the law without turning our neighborhood into a heavy security prison or something like that. So, that's that. Now, immediately, I'm going to jump into the next post here because it's a very short one and I think you're all going to love it. This comes not too long after the previous post on January the 7th, 2022, titled A Good Update. I didn't think I'd come back with an update so soon. Grab the snacks and drinks, turn on the music and dance with me, or more for me as my ribs still hurt. My entitled cousin and Blabbermouth have been arrested and are now finding out how the jail looks from the inside. My husband and I were both called by them, begging us to drop the charges. With this, they broke the no contact order and the bail order. We got everything recorded and then called law enforcement immediately, along with my lawyer. They were arrested. Just received the news. Happy butt wiggle for me. Well, that is phenomenal news and obviously has been a long time coming. I can't quite believe it's taken this long. for either of these two to actually like properly be arrested and taken away in a police car properly. I feel like it sort of has happened already, but let's see what happens in the next update and see if they're actually going to spend any time in jail. I think so far that hasn't really happened, right? But yeah, it's taken a while. I would have thought that, you know, trying to sort of abduct kids may well have caused this in the past, but who knows? Yeah, at least it's happened now. Okay, then let's get into the third post now. And yeah, I'm interested to see what happened after the previous one. So this one actually, interestingly, there's quite a big gap between the previous post and the one that I'm about to read of about a month or so. So that's enough time, I reckon, for something to have really happened with these two. Anyway, the title is My Entitled Cousin Meets Karma. A small update, as I don't have a lot to tell, but I thought that you might want to hear this. My entitled cousin and Blabbermouth are still getting used to their new environment, aka prison. They're not to be released again until trial. Wow. We hope that won't change. So, happy dance for us. So they've been in prison for a month, and who knows when the trial is. That's insane. But my entitled cousin met someone else, and that someone is Karma, and Karma is a female dog. I was informed of this by none other than my entitled cousin's wife, henceforth known as Wonder Woman. She came to my house not to yell at me, curse me, or threaten me. Nope, she came to thank me. I was apprehensive and didn't allow her inside at first, but what she put through the mail slot made me invite her in. So this is Wonder Woman's story. My entitled cousin was apparently financially and emotionally abusive. He never laid a hand on her or their children and never abused their children, but whatever money she made, he made sure he got it. She was only allowed to work for cash so that he could get his hands on it easier. Whatever savings she had, he had forced her to surrender it in the name of, we are a unit now. She was broken and afraid. He had threatened divorce and taking the children because, quote, no judge would give her custody since she couldn't support them. In that case, he wouldn't allow her to see them as she was a bad wife and mother for leaving him. But now that he was behind bars, she found the rest of the courage she needed and access to all of the bank accounts, joint and her own, as well as other important things. This woman had already had contact with a divorce lawyer but was too afraid to actually go through with it. Her parents had talked to her many times and told her to get some real legal advice. She finally did, but was biding her time. So, when her husband, my entitled cousin, got arrested and sent to prison for a longer stay this time, she got the locks changed. The house is in her name, inheritance. Put all his things in boxes, closed the joint account after dividing the money equally, did a whole list of other things I can't remember, and on the same day he was served with the papers, his parents got a lot of boxes with his stuff and a letter. Wonder Woman was divorcing him. The stack of papers she gave me, it was a copy of the divorce papers. Wow, okay, so something to correct from earlier on then, the first post in this episode, I suppose, was that actually the entitled cousin and his wife in the past had good jobs and didn't need the money, not in the future, as OP said. Well, I mean, who knows? They may get back together, but it seems unlikely. Anyway, she was crying. She was and has been so afraid. Apology after apology about not being able to stop him from doing all those things. The reason she came was to let me know this, and how me getting beaten up and my entitled cousin breaking the bail was the miracle she needed. She apologized because my misery enabled her escape. I told her I wasn't angry at her. She did what she could. I was a bit surprised about the speed of everything, but with help from her parents, her family, and her friends, she'd been planning her flight to freedom, as she called it, for at least 7 or 8 months. What set her in motion was the visit, and along with what he'd said about it all, it lifted whatever blindness she had. She finally believed those words that others had said about him. It took some time, but after getting help, she started planning everything. She's afraid, but relieved. She was crying tears of joy, fear, and sadness at the same time. She kept apologizing, although I assured her she had nothing to worry about. Her parents are helping out financially for the moment, as she is looking for a job. I asked her about what she used to do, and after telling me, I gave an old friend of mine a call. I knew he was looking for someone and asked if he could send the job description, as I know someone who might fit. She looked and told me this might work. Friday, she called me to say that she has an interview next week. Fingers crossed. We had a good chat, and I gave her my number so she could call me if she needed help. I'm good at budgeting, and next week I'm going to go to her and help. So, my entitled cousin is in prison for the time being, but when he gets out, sooner or later, rather later, it will be terrible for him. He'll have no job, no home, no wife, no support from friends. His buddy told the friend group everything, and they dropped him so fast as if he was a live grenade. A record, and he might not be able to go to his parents, as his father is furious and disowned him. And that is how, up until this point, my entitled cousin meets karma. Let's see what else life, and hopefully karma, has in stock for him in the future. Wow, there we go. Fantastic end to this story. It's kind of weird. I mean, from Wonder Woman's perspective, saying, look, I know you got beaten up by my husband, and I'm really sorry about that. That's obviously awful, but in a way, you kind of saved my life because it opened my eyes to just what a horrible person he is. And yeah, I've been planning this for a while, but that was sort of like the extra push I needed to actually go through with it. Him now being in prison is just, yeah, exactly what you want. It gives you the space, gives you the time, gives you the safety, I suppose, knowing that he's not going to be around, and you can actually move on with this divorce and get done what you obviously need to get done. So yeah, in a roundabout way, you getting beaten up, OP, was a good thing. Coddle Mum to the not so rescue. I would like to introduce you to Coddle Mum. She is my entitled cousin's mother. Wonder Woman, aka my entitled cousin's soon-to-be ex-wife, is also mentioned. To us, it seems like she is almost in complete agreement with her son. She doesn't like it one bit that her precious son had to exchange his nice house with his wife and kids for a prison cell and divorce papers. When Coddle Mum and my entitled cousin's dad were met with my entitled cousin's belongings, she lost her absolute mind. Wonder Woman called me to relay the story. She called Wonder Woman and started her spiel of, "How dare you divorce my absolute gem of a son?" Puke, anyone? Wonder Woman had learned from me and recorded everything in case she needed it. She simply waited until Coddle Mum had to draw some breath before saying something along the lines of how my entitled cousin should be happy he wasn't charged with financial abuse as well. Proof aplenty, according to her. And that since she loved her son so much, she could have him. As Coddle Mum always thought that Wonder Woman's only purpose was to provide her son with children and meet his every need. Some other things were said, and Wonder Woman is a woman I'm starting to admire more with each passing day. Really, it's like she broke free and became something amazing. She doesn't care that people play the family card. She learned from my mistakes, and unlike my husband or lawyer friend, she doesn't sugarcoat her words. She told me in no uncertain terms that I behaved with too much caution and forgiveness, and I should have burned them to the ground the moment they started their trash. I have to admit, I agree. My entitled cousin's dad walked in on that conversation and lost his mind on Coddle Mum. Wonder Woman told Coddle Mum that she did not want any contact. My entitled cousin's dad could call and they'd make arrangements for him to see the grandchildren. Wonder Woman is working with a lawyer and social services on how to approach visits between Coddle Mum and her grandchildren, concerning some things that you'll read below. So, after getting an earful from her soon-to-be ex-daughter-in-law, Coddle Mum started calling me and my husband, demanding that we drop everything, and begged for forgiveness for nonsense like tearing the family apart and not doing what was right. We recorded, hung up, blocked her, saved everything we needed, and filed for a no contact order. But when all of her shenanigans didn't work, she tried something else. She seemed to have learnt from her son where I lived, so she came to our house. But as we have doorbells with cameras, love the invention, with recording settings, I could enjoy the show from my spot on the couch while she dug her own grave. Like heck, I was opening the door with Coddle Mum outside. No, lady, heck no. I was so glad my children and husband were not home. Screams alternated between, "How dare you do this to my son? I'm going to insert violence here to you, and you should have given him what he wanted. That's how it's done." Hello, medieval mindset, where the men matter and women only matter to give the men what they want. I understood in an instant where my entitled cousin got the whole bow down to the will of the family thing from. Too bad I couldn't get any snacks or drinks due to doctor's orders of rest, but watching from the cameras how Coddle Mum lost her mind and started throwing everything she could at my home and then got arrested by our town's finest people in blue was priceless. I'm also slightly disappointed she didn't get to meet Frou and my fourth baby, LeFou. Yeah, we got a dog. LeFou is a super duper sweetie pie Rottweiler mix of about 2 years old. Total lapdog for us and just the right kind of protective. He was already being trained by the name he went by. It turns out the nice woman who lives next door knows the breeder and she was asked to name the pups of this litter. LeFou and my family have been doing some extensive training with my neighbours. This day, LeFou is at the vet with my husband and children for meet and greet and health inspection. So, hello, lawyer friend, do you still have some spare time? Now you don't, or you have even less. He's still sometimes wondering if my husband was adopted because he can't believe the sheer stupidity of some of his family members. Spoiler, he isn't adopted. But anyway, join the club. Wonder Woman has also been updated about this. I thought she might need it in case Coddle Mum tries anything regarding visitation with the grandkids. Oh, and she got the job. She's also in the process of further protecting herself, but I won't share that info. I don't condone violence, but that woman should be happy that neither my husband, kids, LeFou, our neighbours, or Frou were around. Coddle Mum would have been toast. But hey, the plus side is that she now knows what the bench in a cell feels like, from my point of view at least. Okay, there we go. A brand new character enters the fray, and goodness me, is she entitled? I mean, seeing someone like this, I completely agree with you, OP. It's just so obvious now as to why your entitled cousin is the way they are. Yeah, that stuff that is just pretty sexist, very archaic. This is where it comes from. It all makes sense. I am rooting for Wonder Woman though. I mean, the fact that she's got the job is fantastic. The fact she's making a new life for herself is phenomenal. And yeah, all the best for her. Now let's get into the second post of this one, which is an update. Mother-in-law blew it. Last week on Saturday, we went to have coffee with my father-in-law and mother-in-law, as we often do. We made sure to give them a call notifying them we would be coming, so my father-in-law could notify my brother-in-law in case he wanted to come. No contact order, works fine. Brother-in-law is not in the mood for visits from our local people in blue and white. The kids came with us, and my husband's other sister, second kid of my father-in-law and mother-in-law, was there as well. The kids love her, although she is very opinionated and can only see things black and white, no middle ground. She and Blabbermouth do not get along. That was even before I became an addition to the family. For the sake of this post, I'll call her Lucy. We got there, got our drinks with cake, and were having a nice chat when my mother-in-law blew it. We told them that during these visits, we wouldn't discuss the situation with Blabbermouth and my entitled cousin. If she wanted to do so, we would see each other for that on a different time and day. We want these visits to be for other things than that. This was firmly explained, especially to my mother-in-law, as she began to talk about Blabbermouth twice in a row. She stopped after we just got up and left. You know what? I kind of slightly have to disagree with you on this one, OP. Yes, in an ideal world, you wouldn't talk about Blabbermouth here or your entitled cousin, but this is a major thing that's going on in your family and obviously is a huge part of your husband's parents, mothers, well, whatever. Like your entire family's lives at the moment. So to ask not to speak about it at all at a family get-together, I think is asking a little bit too much. I think that's just unrealistic. Anyway, last week, my mother-in-law had to do it again. She started to say that she felt so sorry for Blabbermouth, how awful it must be for her. We told her to stop, as this is not what we came for. Lucy also told her to stop. Then, my mother-in-law asked the questions she should never have asked. Don't you have pity? Don't you feel sorry for her? Kaboom. My youngest two started crying. My eldest, me, husband, and Lucy all flipped our lids. My husband and I decided that we needed to deal with our children. We took them outside, made sure they were calm and felt safe before I went back in. Let me just personally here, guys, explain what I meant. And just so you know, I mean, I'm not on the side at all of OP's husband's family here. I'm just saying I think it's unrealistic to not expect to talk about the situation a little bit. However, then jumping to, don't you feel sorry for my daughter who tried to abduct your children? I mean, that's going a little too far. Lucy was grilling her mother. I told her she could stop. My mother-in-law wasn't crying, but just looked at me with a numb look, for lack of a better description. My speech to my mother-in-law, almost verbatim, went like this. To answer your questions, no, I don't feel sorry for her, nor do I pity her. We helped her with her home. We helped, and still help, her children with a college education. And, if they do it right, with a home. We took you all on holiday. Unbeknownst to you all, it was my good word that got her the job she has now when I was asked. Because although I hate her entitlement and the way she talks about me, I acknowledge she is incredibly good at her job. I would never screw someone over if I thought they were good at their job and reasonably decent to those they work with. She wanted more. She demanded we give more, only because we're related, because we're family, like an obligation to do something. She always thought she had some priority over me, my husband, and our family, simply because she popped her children out first. She told my husband to divorce me because I would never amount to anything, and every form of education I followed was a waste of time and money. But the moment we have money, she demands money. When she heard the word no to her outrageous demand, she yapped the family against our wishes, causing all the troubles we have now, destroying relationships in the process. She talked with my entitled cousin about attacking me, hurting me, and abducting our children, and acted on it. I needed surgery for flip's sake because of that attack, and I'm not out of the woods yet. Our children are in therapy because she tried to take them against their will. My husband is in therapy because of her and my entitled cousin, as he feels like he can't protect his family. I'll be fine, but she had the audacity to F with my family. Don't ever expect for me to feel sorry for her after all the trash she has put my family through. Her own family, for flip's sake. Family only has value to her when she can get something from them, no matter the cost to others. As long as she gets what she wants without the need to pay. You won't be seeing me or the children for some time. I don't care what my husband decides. You are his mother, and I will never tell him he can't see you or talk to you. I love you with all my heart. I thank you for raising my husband to be the man he is now, but I will not put the children through this sheer favoritism and the hurt it causes them. To my father-in-law, I said this: we won't be coming for a while. We have so much to deal with already, and I can't have my mother-in-law adding to it. Me or my husband will give you a call to discuss some things. With that, I grabbed the coats and I left. My husband had a call with my father-in-law later. They had a long talk about how he'd had enough of his mother's favoritism towards his sister when there is conflict. He told his dad that he holds no grudge against him, but he needs a break. Lucy and I needed to do some shopping together yesterday, and she told me that my mother-in-law could only sit afterwards. According to Lucy and her dad, after we left, my father-in-law didn't say anything to her. He just took the mugs, plates, and stuff to the kitchen, placed it in the dishwasher, wiped everything down, then sat on the chair, looking at her and just telling her, calm as ever, "You blew it." The daughter-in-law who forgave so much, was willing to let so much slide, who helped us out so much, and who tried not to involve the law because of us and our family, has had enough. And she is right. At that moment, my mother-in-law started crying. Lucy was then asked to leave. To her credit, she leaves us be. Normally, I would have taken her to certain appointments, but she and my father-in-law made other arrangements for the time being. We're no contact with my mother-in-law for a while. My children are devastated. They knew that my mother-in-law had a soft spot for Blabbermouth, but they're shocked that their grandmother ignores the hurt her own daughter causes to her son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren. They miss her. They have a lot of questions. My husband is broken and angry. He had a talk with his therapist about it. He misses her, but he told me that his mother needs to learn a harsh lesson right now. I told him once again that I would never demand of him to stop seeing his mother. If he wishes, he can go, he can call, whatever. I wouldn't be angry. He knows my boundaries. I simply won't go to visit, nor am I willing to talk to her. For now, we don't want the children to go there either. If she wishes to apologize, fine. Not now, as I'm still fuming. If/when she wants to apologize, she will have to come up with an insanely good apology, as I'm not willing to sweep this obvious favoritism under the rug. I've done that too much already. For now, I have her blocked on my phone, and I've removed myself from the family group chat. I love my mother-in-law tremendously. She helped us a lot when the children were little. In our time of need, they and my parents were there. They've always respected our parenting decisions, even though they didn't always agree with them. When my mother-in-law and father-in-law babysat, they respected our wishes. She would freestyle when they were a bit older, but made sure they had their sleep, ate healthy meals and snacks, with the occasional treats and such. I was always treated with love and respect. I helped them out whenever and however I could. So, this hurts. She has seen me in the hospital. She saw what was done to me. She has seen the fear my children had and have, the hurt in my husband's eyes. She's seen this all, and all she knows and does is turn a semi-blind eye to her daughter's actions. She acknowledges my entitled cousin's actions against us, but not her own daughter's. Hello, therapist. I just want this nightmare to end. Okay, wow, shocking stuff. And then, to round off this episode, a couple of weeks later, on the 5th of May 2022, we got this update on OP's mother-in-law. My mother-in-law contacted my husband. She went over to our house. My husband was home alone. He'd taken a week off. We were expecting a parcel delivery. The delivery man came, my husband checked the cameras and went to open the door. Parcel, signature, yada yada. As the man went, his mum came. She came up to him and started talking. My husband just stood there with the parcel in his hands, and after she stopped talking, he told her, "Mum, your own daughter tried to hurt your own son and harmed your daughter-in-law and grandchildren. She knew OP would be attacked and encouraged it. If she didn't, she knew and didn't care what would happen to her. She didn't report it or do anything to try and stop it. My wife will probably need surgery again." Side note, left kidney, liver and spleen were always problematic, thanks to my entitled cousin and the beating even more so, to the point they might need to be removed. I'll hear this tomorrow. Now, you ask her to pity her and show mercy when all that happened because she broke the law? She hurt us. You keep choosing her even when things like this happen and hit you across the face. When you see the damage she's done with your own eyes, you keep finding excuses for her horrible behaviour. I've had enough. I know you love her, and I'll never ask you to choose sides. I only ask you to condemn her behaviour and actions, nothing else. But you don't. By asking us to show mercy and feel pity, you don't. We don't blame you for what happened. We blame Blabbermouth and the entitled cousin. Don't blame yourself for what they did. Stop defending her. Get therapy. You need it. You need to see what is happening and accept that by no fault of yours, your daughter hurt others. I love you, Mum, but now you need to go away. I don't want to talk to you when you continue to excuse her behaviour and the harm she caused to others. Don't contact us. We will contact you if we ever feel ready to. Then he shut the door and locked it. His mum just stood there for a little while and left. I found my husband bawling his eyes out when I got home an hour later. I've sent the recordings of the doorbell camera to my lawyer in case we need a no contact order for my mother-in-law. I don't think so, as he's the golden son and she always tends to do as he says, but better safe than sorry. In the evening, my father-in-law came by to watch a game with my husband, and he told us what happened after my mother-in-law came home. He asked where she'd gone, and she started to cry, scream, etc. and relay what happened. That she doesn't want to lose her son and his family. She asked herself why it had to come to this, to which my father-in-law truthfully answered that his son was right. She kept choosing her daughter over her son no matter what. That she can still love her daughter but condemn what she did. She doesn't though. My mother-in-law told him that all she feels is the need to protect her child, to which he responded that, however understandable that may be, by doing so, she hurts her other child, a child who also needs her. This is what he said, paraphrased. Love both and don't choose sides. Your daughter hurt your son and his family. Your son hurts because his own sister has hurt his wife and his children. He hurts because she cares more about getting what she wants. He hurts because you can't see that. Love both, as is natural to you as a loving mother, but open your eyes to the hurt that's been caused. She asked him if he could help her with my husband and me, and this is how he responded, again paraphrased. I will not lift a finger to help you in this situation with them. This is all your own doing. I've warned you many times in the past, more so in the last year, that this might happen, that these actions might have this outcome. Our son's idea of therapy might be a good idea. However, this will not automatically mean you get to see them again and be in their lives. Before this mess started, our son and OP were kind. They had an open mind, trusting, they tended to see the good in people, and when bad things happened, they tried to see what caused it and condemned it when they deemed it was warranted. They still are good, kind people. They still try to see and figure out what caused certain things, but they become suspicious of people's motives. They aren't so trusting anymore. They're scared that they'll get hurt, that the children will get hurt. If you ever want a chance to see them again, you need to respect them and their decisions. Accept that they might not forgive you, whatever you do. By now, you know that they, and especially OP, will not excuse behaviour in the name of family any longer. She and our son have finally learned to stand up to such a degree that nobody dares mess with them. You and OP are both loving people. You love your husbands, children, and others. The difference between the two of you is that OP is now willing to go ballistic when she feels her children and or husband are threatened. Don't mess with this mama bear. She will not back down if you go too far, and you know it. Do you understand now why I love and respect this man so much? My mother-in-law just kept crying silent tears. Lucy also tells me that her mother is a shell of who she was. She keeps saying that she lost her son and his family and how sorry she is. To be honest, I feel like karma came for her. As of now, I don't feel any inclination to have contact with her. She is elderly, and I know that she might die without ever seeing us again. It hurts a lot. She really means so much to me, but I'm not going to expose myself or my children to her favoritism. She may be crying about how sorry she is, but I'll only believe her if she proves it. I don't believe words anymore, just actions. What we need is for her to show us that love for Blabbermouth should not blind her to this degree. I hope she can. I truly hope so. She won't get a get out of time out card just because she is family. And rightfully so. Just because someone's family, and I think OP has sort of learnt this over the past few years, and yeah, we've seen as the story progresses that she has become less sort of forgiving, less of a doormat. Well, I don't know. I don't think she ever really was a doormat, but maybe she was a little too generous without really sort of understanding other people and their sort of motives. I'm not sure if that's fair or not, but the point still remains that OP is past that stage of just saying, okay, your family, it's all right. Now, I'm not a parent, guys, so let me know in the comments down below, those of you that are. But when your child, and I'm hoping this hasn't happened to the majority of you, but when your child does something like terrible or illegal or morally awful, I'm not saying just like, your run-of-the-mill bad thing, but like something that's actually really quite bad, how do you feel as their parent? You don't obviously just stop loving them. You still have all your love for them, but you can't condone their actions, can you? You can't still be like, oh yeah, what they did was amazing, I'm completely on their side, especially when it's affecting other family members. So I don't see anything that your mother-in-law OP is saying here as legit at all. It's all a load of bull. Like, I get it. She clearly has favoritism for OP's sister-in-law, Blabbermouth, but you're just affecting your own son and his family and his wife, It's insane. It's not as if your daughter has done something bad, is in jail, hasn't really affected anyone else, and she's, done something criminal, but you still support her and love her, and it's not really having too much of an effect on anything else really in the world or other people. Is actually like firsthand ruining other people in your family's lives, yet you're still willing and choosing to support that woman over other people. It doesn't really make much sense to me, but there we go. Brother-in-law and Blabbermouth have come to beg. A comedy. Dear Reddit family, another long update. Trigger warning for some violence and abuse. I started writing about my experiences simply to gain insights, opinions, and blow off some steam, and as a somewhat therapeutic measure, so to speak. I found out that my posts have been used by several YouTube channels to broadcast them to others. That's fine. When I found out about them, I was mostly interested in the comments. They really opened my eyes and showed me that I was naive, gullible, and an incredible doormat. Maybe more so than what my husband and my lawyer told me. My neighbours found out about the post as well and agree with you all, so thank you all. Other family members have also found out about the posts. They weren't happy with them, and some started to spout some BS about privacy, but when they read the responses and saw everything from my point of view, they felt even more ashamed than they already did. In one of my last posts, people gave a lot of advice on protecting ourselves and our home. Thank you all for that. We've also been following some self-defense and martial arts classes when possible. The children were given alarms, schools were told about what happened, and protocols were written for their safety. We sold our cars and bought other ones that we parked some streets away. We have the majority of our groceries delivered as well. A company specializing in home defense was told to make our home feel safe again. We have a contract with that company, so in case anything hits the fan, they know to haul their butts our way ASAP. Local law enforcement also has a big red flag attached to our phone numbers and address. We don't expect a lot now, but better safe than sorry. We've certainly learned that. The neighborhood watch is a success. We have had a lot fewer attempted break-ins and thefts. My children have found their courage to walk LeFou on their own without either me or my husband. They're not as afraid as they were shortly after the debacle with Blabbermouth and my entitled cousin. Talking with their therapists has helped a lot. My eldest struggles somewhat as he thinks that being the eldest means taking care of his siblings without fail. I needed some surgery, as the beating made some pre-existing health issues worse. My husband is still restless sometimes. He's taken his self-defense and martial arts lessons seriously. He thought, and still thinks at times, that he failed in his duty to protect his family. With the help of his therapist, he can shake that feeling more. I've told him numerous times that he never failed us. He loves us and has always been there for us as a father and husband. My eldest takes a lot after my husband in this regard. It doesn't surprise me, as I've proudly given birth to my husband's clone. Our neighbour has been a great help as well. Sometimes men need another man or men to tell them whatever they need to hear without therapist talk. So, let's go through a current status on people. Firstly, mother-in-law is still in timeout. As you guys remember, see the previous post or see the previous episode to understand what happened there. But yeah, as mentioned, she didn't show herself in the best light at the end of the last post. As for Lucy and my father-in-law, no problems. My entitled cousin is still in prison, though secluded. Inmates don't really like him apparently. I'm not even wondering why. Coddle Mum, remember, is my entitled cousin's mum. Nothing really on her. Okay, that's interesting. I thought there might be some sort of update after she was screaming at you in your house and yeah, just chucking stuff at the property. My brother-in-law. The no contact order has been lifted as of last week. No harassment or any other things, so no reason for extension. He's not blocked on our phones. If people want to dig their own graves, then I'm all for helping them. Blabbermouth. Now she is still in prison. Woe is me attitude. Only our lawyers talk with each other and with the prosecutor. The hell hag still has an active no contact order. She's been blocked on my phone but not on my husband's. Same reason as with my brother-in-law. Our lawyer friend. Hero without a cape. Devil without horns. Worth every penny, cent, dollar, etc. Blabbermouth's lawyer is of course still very actively involved. My brother. My 1.89 meters tall brother has the build of a tank, is strong as one, is kind-hearted, is a no-nonsense man. So this is a new character being added into the story here. As is my brother's partner, my third sister-in-law in this story, Maggie. Then of course we still have our lovely, amazing new neighbours with Frou-Frou, their loving dog, another hero without a cape who will take snacks and cuddles as his reward. And then finally, LeFou, our own loving dog, hero in training, who will also take snacks and cuddles as his reward. Okay then, let's get in to part 1 of this post. My lawyer called us. Apparently, he got a call from my brother-in-law that Blabbermouth wants to plead guilty in exchange for no time in prison. As of now, she faces between 5 to 10 years in prison if found guilty. I thought that this wasn't possible, but according to my lawyer, she hardly has any chance at that. She can get a reduction, but no more if she goes for the guilty plea. Also, what surprised us is that my brother-in-law called my lawyer directly instead of going through their lawyer. So, what does our beloved lawyer do? Laughs on the phone, hangs up, and calls their lawyer telling them what my brother-in-law has done. Apparently, Blabbermouth's lawyer just sighed deeply and thanked our lawyer before hanging up. Our thoughts. Blabbermouth and my brother-in-law don't hear what they want to hear from their own lawyer, so they try it through ours. Nice try. Okay, part 2. My brother-in-law's visit. Several days after our lawyer called to tell us about my brother-in-law and Blabbermouth's delusion/fantasy, we got several texts from 4 of our beloved nieces and nephews, Blabbermouth and my brother-in-law's kids. Number 5 doesn't like me, and, like his mother, blames me for all of her misfortune. We know the only reason he doesn't bother us is that his parents have warned him to stay out of this. As of now, he hasn't messed up, and we're still somewhat willing to pay for his college education. The other 4 kids and us have a good relationship. They know what Mother Dearest tried to do, and they've decided on their own that they're done with her entitled rubbish, and with their father semi-enabling it. Number 1 and number 2 have moved out. Number 3 and 4 can't just yet, but are barely home. Since their mother is in jail, the eldest two decided to drop in on their father and younger siblings to keep an eye out and help when needed. My brother-in-law was very unhappy and angry. He knows that what Blabbermouth did was wrong, but he thinks the whole kidnapping and assault thing is blown out of proportion. They were all having lunch, and my brother-in-law came up with the amazing idea to have a talk with me, and, to an extent, my husband. Whose phone explodes with texts after that lunch? Mine and my husband's. My eldest niece tried and managed to get a time frame from her father and texted us that. Since we didn't want our children to watch whatever might go down, we asked my brother and Maggie if they could go there for a couple of days and hang out with their cousins. No problem, after explaining the situation. The children were scared but didn't want to leave. My brother flexes his muscles, they love that, and tells them that he will keep them safe. Then we call our neighbours, explain the situation, and ask if they're available in case we need witnesses and help. Before we could even finish asking, we heard the doorbell ring. My neighbours and Frou were there. I really love these people and their dog. So, some hours later, and my brother-in-law makes his grand appearance. For those of you who wondered if we invited him in, well, of course not. Heck, we didn't even open the door. The doorbell camera has almost earned its own altar at our home. He began his sob story about how Blabbermouth didn't mean it. She was sorry, yada yada yada, sob sob sob. He begged through his sobs if we could drop the charges. Nah, even if I could, I wouldn't. Oh, brother-in-law, fun fact, the prosecutor is the one who decides that now. You know, because what Blabbermouth did are felonies. You don't get to try and abduct people and get away with a slap on the wrist. You don't get to show your big blue eyes and get away with aiding and abetting assault. Even if he changes his mind, it won't be because of your puppy eyes begging, but of lack of evidence. Of which he has plenty, you know that. I'm sure your lawyer has told you this, so why the heck are you trying it here? Oh, right, because you and Blabbermouth don't want to hear no. Last but not least, me and my husband and children will be a lot safer if her entitled behind is in jail and not polluting the free air with her sense of entitlement. After hearing this piece of information, my brother-in-law became angry. Family this, family that, more family helps each other rubbish. And the golden phrase was, but she's family, and you don't hurt family. To which we responded, but we're her family, why did she hurt us then? No response, he just stood there. Then he started cursing, how I was an S-word, a B-word, and that it was all my fault. Sure, brother-in-law, blame the one who helped pay off your mortgage and your children's tuition because all we wanted was to help family. If you don't want the money, then we would like to have it back. Would you like to pay it back all in one go, or use a payment plan? Yes, we were semi-teasing. He raged on about that. How dare you? And it's not funny. Of course it isn't funny, but what isn't funny either is that Blabbermouth only accepted me when it suited her and when things happened the way she wanted. If not, she would try to manipulate things and people so she could still get something of what she wanted. We helped you, and when we say no to an absurd request, she loses her ever-loving mind. She destroys relationships, the good and the neutral ones. She destroyed our feeling of safety and our health, so on and so forth. For what? A holiday of which I know you have the money for, or at least for a good part of it? You don't like that she's in jail. That's fine. She reaps what she sows. You and Blabbermouth should talk to your lawyer to see what can be done about this with the least amount of damage. Family means nothing to you and Blabbermouth when it doesn't get you anything. Go away. We'll call the cops and see if we can get more no contact / restraining / CND orders shoved up your behind. Oh, and don't try anything stupid. Look at my entitled cousin and Blabbermouth to see how that worked out. After saying something along the lines above, he left. We made a copy of the video footage, called the police, and went through the entire process again. Our lawyer came by for a visit and was baffled and actually sighed. He simply can't understand their thought process. It turns out Coddle Mum was also giving him a rough time by basically demanding he does something about her son being in jail. So he did something. He basically told her to shove off in a legal way unless she wants to spend money on her own lawyer and deal with the unpleasant side effects from such legal papers. Like I said earlier in the post, I needed surgery, and the nice lady from next door has offered to stay when my husband is away to help me and keep an eye out. She can work from home and help out in case the family nut jobs return. She's become more than a friend. When she isn't working, we talk a lot and got to know each other on a deeper level. It turns out she'd actually been in a similar situation with an ex gone bonkers, even after she got together with her now husband. And they try to help whenever they can, as they know the anxiety, insecurity, and fear. No ex problems for her, thankfully. I'm not quite sure what to make of what I've just read there. I don't know the funniest thing, but when OP said at the title that it's a comedy, I mean, you were just 100% right. Like, I don't know what's funnier. Forgetting about your own lawyer, swerving him, and going to the opposition's lawyer to see if they can do anything about your current situation. I mean, how crazy is that? Or when a case is already like underway, going to the people that have charged your wife and saying, actually, would you mind actually just pulling it now? Despite the fact that like it's out of their hands now. Like, this is happening. But anyway, very funny story. Let's get into our next post, which is a little update. Do you see that? That's your college fund waving goodbye. A small but worthy update. This time it's about Blabbermouth and my brother-in-law's youngest child, an 18-year-old guy. I'll call him Entitled Apple Kid, as apparently the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. All right, I'll call him Apple. So, Apple is set to start college in September if everything goes well. As some Redditors might know, I have a college fund for some people in the family, and Apple is included. These funds have strict stipulations and only cover books and tuition. No extracurriculars, housing, or living expenses. If they want to move out and live elsewhere, that's on their own dime. At the start of this whole drama, the eldest had already finished college. The second is set to graduate this year, and the two middle ones are currently busy with college. Apple is the last in line. With everything that's happened, he has reared his head from time to time, making offhand remarks, and, in the beginning, demands for money. We made it very clear, in words and on paper, that if he continued with this behaviour or did anything unlawful, he could wave his funds goodbye. My husband and I have always operated on the belief that a child shall not suffer for its parents' blatant stupidity, but if they choose to be stupid themselves, they shall reap what they sow. Blabbermouth and brother-in-law have apparently had stern talks with Apple, telling him to keep his head down and focus on his studies so he could get his tuition paid. They've always known we wouldn't just hand over money, but would instead verify everything, confirm details, and pay directly. Still, they didn't complain about that free money. The incident. We've instructed our eldest to avoid escalating any situation. Call us or law enforcement and seek out other adults if possible in case of conflict. Filming any encounter was already something he'd figured out on his own. A couple of days ago, Apple and our eldest ran into each other by chance while our eldest and his siblings were out together. Eldest just gave him a quick hello and turned to walk away. Apple didn't like seeing him, apparently, and started shouting and cursing at him, blocking his way. My two youngest heard the commotion and ran to their brother's side. My youngest started filming. Apple began pushing his chest into our eldest. Credit to my son, he never hit back and stayed calm. When Apple grabbed his shirt, our eldest used some of his self-defense skills to make Apple let go, but nothing more. Then my middle child said to Apple, "Is it a family trait to want to go to jail or something? If you hurt him, you will go there. You might see your mother again." That did it. Apple stopped, looked at them all, and ran for it. Oh my goodness, I thought that was gonna sort of spur him on to just go even more crazy, but thank goodness. The kids got home and showed me the footage, along with footage from a witness, who also gave us contact info. We made a trip to the police station to file a report. Then, we called our lawyer to set things in motion for a restraining order or whatever else might be possible. After all of that, we made a copy of the footage and the police report and sent it to my brother-in-law. Attached was a note that another student thanks them for the donation of a college fund, since Apple had decided he could go without. He threw away his chance with his own actions. According to my eldest niece, their parents were not happy at all. Oh wow, but let's be honest, it's fully deserved. Now let's jump straight into the next post. Mother-in-law goes to therapy. Okay, maybe a positive ending to this one. So, quick recap. Blabbermouth is in jail. Mother-in-law asked us for mercy and pity. We told her, heck no. We told my mother-in-law to get therapy, and then we went no contact. People in this one are my mother-in-law, who, overall, is a good woman, but her love for her daughter Blabbermouth makes her utterly and completely blind. We are currently in no contact with her. My father-in-law, a good and wonderful man. Lucy, my sister-in-law, another sister of my husband, who is not entitled. My husband, of course. Rock, stand-up comedian, and greatest love. Eldest, my eldest child. Youngest child, born 5 minutes after their twin. Wow, yeah, I have twins. No, not identical, different genders. Characters are freakishly alike though. So, this week, Lucy came by for a cup of coffee and gave us some, maybe shocking news. My mother-in-law has found a therapist. This one is part of the same practice as our one. We never told my mother-in-law who our therapist was or where we went. Lucy told us that my mother-in-law has already had some sessions, but didn't know the details. Okay, that's a good sign. We still eye it with some suspicion, but let's see where this takes us. Then, last night, my father-in-law came by and also told us, without us prompting, that my mother-in-law had found a therapist and had a very intensive first couple of sessions. My father-in-law had joined in a few of them, so the therapist could gather other perspectives. He didn't tell us before because he wanted to be sure it wasn't a one-time thing. Apparently, his wife came home after a session, and when my father-in-law asked how it went and how she felt, she said something like, "I really made stupid mistakes, didn't I?" When he asked why she thought so, she told him that what he'd said to her, see the previous post, was something the therapist had also said. The therapist apparently said something along the lines of, "To love a child isn't wrong, but the actions caused by that love can do wrong to the child and, to an extent, others as well," or something like that. She seemed very sorry and said she better understood what went wrong. My mother-in-law is finally beginning to understand the consequences of her actions. Hallelujah! We remain no contact for now. We like to think this is a good start to mother-in-law's learning process. Although it seems like good news, we are still apprehensive about letting her back into our lives for now. Our therapist knows about all of this and has asked us to consider family therapy. We're thinking about it, but we want my mother-in-law to truly understand why her actions drove us to go no contact. Let's see what this brings. Wow, that is a great update. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't actually really expecting her to go through with that either. I'm still not 100% sure. Like, do you really need a therapist to tell you stuff that's that obvious? Clearly she does, but maybe it's just because we're on the outside of all of this and I don't have any children involved in this story, but like it's the most obvious thing ever. Yeah, still love your kid, but condone their actions at least. And also, especially when it's at the expense of one of your other children and their family. I don't think you should probably need a therapist to like tell you that's an obvious thing to sort of think about or a way of thinking, but yeah, clearly this woman does, but yeah, I'll stop being cynical. At least this is a positive thing. Mother-in-law continues with therapy, asks us to join. Spawn of Blabbermouth makes 2 new friends. Hello Redditors, it's been a month and I would like to give you an update on the current status quo. This was posted in August of 2022, guys. Firstly, an update on my own health. I'm healing quite well. I'm home now and the doctors are pleased with my recovery. I can walk longer distances and work from home. I don't work to my fullest capacity, but I'm grateful that I can do some things again. So, on to the update. To my utter surprise, mother-in-law continues with therapy. She goes once, sometimes twice a week, and according to my father-in-law, has been making quite the progress. My mother-in-law has asked us to go to one or multiple sessions with her. It was her own idea. She wanted us to talk about it, but in the confines of the therapy room, as she feels like the therapist is unbiased. Alright, you scored another point for yourself in my still suspicious eyes. My husband and I talked about it, between ourselves and with our own therapist. We made a list. What did we want to talk about and what not? In we went. And it went quite well. The therapist started, explained why we were asked. We could say what we thought, and my mother-in-law told them that she understood. More/better/finally, our standpoint. She'd written down some examples that my husband had used. She'd had a talk with my father-in-law and even other family members about situations in which she blatantly favoured Blabbermouth. To keep it short, she explained why she felt how she felt. She understands that she should have done things differently, and she's sorry if she took Blabbermouth's side too much. She said she felt that Blabbermouth was like her in some ways, not the entitled ways, and therefore she just couldn't help herself. Okay. My husband and I just absorbed what she said. I simply asked what made her see it this way. Some uncomfortable moving from her side while asking what I meant. I asked the therapist if I could be honest, blunt to a point. I could, to a point. I told her that if things got difficult and or when she wants things to stop happening, she starts ignoring what happens. Like an ostrich, head in the sand, hoping it all just blows over. Going to therapy and basically digging up every little dirty thing was difficult, so what made her go against that tactic of hers? She looked me in the eye and said, "The therapist made me see you and my son as kind people who love their family to a fault, allowing a lot, maybe too much. That you love me. I ruined so much by my actions. My husband said the same. Aunts and uncles said the same, even the ones who hurt you. The fact that my own son, you, and the children didn't want any contact with me was the wake-up call. I know what I did was stupid, but I really had the feeling you blamed me for everything that happened and what was still going on." I asked if I could speak on my own behalf. I told her that I didn't blame her for what was going on. I didn't blame her for the things that my entitled cousin or Blabbermouth did. Those were their choices, not hers. She had nothing to do with any of it directly. However, by giving in so much in childhood, adolescence, and adulthood, Blabbermouth got accustomed to getting her way and expecting others to give her what she wanted. If she didn't, she would manipulate to get her way. What felt like a knife through our hearts was that I was attacked and in danger. Our children were in some danger. And then she kept asking for pity and mercy for Blabbermouth, condoning her actions, not looking or not wanting to see what she was doing to us. That went too far. That hurt too much. We understand she loves her daughter, but it was her selective blindness, the condoning, excusing, that hurt the most. I repeated what I've said before. Love her as you want. I cannot and won't tell you who to love or not, but look at the actions of a person, the facts of them. She hurts us, your son, me, and your grandchildren. We also matter. My husband said he agreed and added his own feelings as well. She started crying, saying she was sorry. She simply didn't or couldn't believe that one child was hurting her other one. It ended there with a new appointment for a couple of weeks from now, summer holiday for the therapist. I think it's a good start. To be continued. No contact will continue outside of the sessions. In the meantime, we've also had to deal with SOB, spawn of Blabbermouth. Last time he tried to intimidate my eldest and, by doing so, lost access to his college fund. The grapevine, his elder siblings, told me that his father, my brother-in-law of course, shouted at him for his stupidity, as he'd clearly been warned not to do anything against any of us. We were still willing to let him use the funds for his education, but he had to stay out of the situation. Now, interestingly, OP here has changed the name of the person I was calling Apple into SOB, spawn of Blabbermouth, and I kind of want to keep calling him Apple, so I'm going to do that. You all know who Apple was and is from the past posts, so let's go with Apple. Anyway, my brother-in-law and Blabbermouth were told that very, very clearly, the fact that we were still letting him use the funds for his education, but he had to stay out of the situation, thanks to our lawyer, and they made sure that Apple knew. Well, he wasn't pleased about getting yelled at by his father and mother during a visit. He didn't like that whatever funds his parents had were now going to lawyer fees. He didn't like that his two oldest siblings gave him a firm and resounding "screw you," no, after he demanded they pay for his college. His reasoning, since they had jobs, they should help him out. He didn't like that both sets of grandparents weren't helping out either. He didn't like that he wasn't getting support or pity from anyone. He certainly didn't like that when he asked our aunts and uncles for money, whining fell on deaf ears, and he was told, "This is a lesson you need to learn." Poor Apple. A lot of things happened he didn't like. And, in true Blabbermouth fashion, he blamed our family. So what does the idiot do? Well, he came to our house. Just like my entitled cousin, family stupidity, I think, he climbed over our fence. Unfortunately for him, Frou-Frou and LeFou were waiting in the backyard out of sight. Our neighbours and us were at some elderly neighbours a couple of houses down. The lady's a bit scared of dogs, so we left ours at home. We were sitting in their yard chatting when we heard the screams and barks. I can't really run, so I checked our home cameras. Lo and behold, Apple is crouching on the same table my entitled cousin was when he had to flee from 100 pounds of protective muscle, fat and sweetness, aka Frou-Frou. Now, Apple got the honour and pleasure of meeting Frou-Frou and LeFou at the same time. He was not happy. The blue-clothed lads and ladies, armed with shiny and not-so-shiny accessories, showed up and took him away. We don't think he can be legally charged with anything more than trespassing, but beggars can't be choosers. According to our inside informants, my brother-in-law wasn't happy. Apple was picked up from the station, got tore some brand new holes, had his games consoles, iPad and everything non-essential taken by his father. He now has limited laptop access, school only, and he's been grounded. He's sulking a lot. When he started crying to one of his brothers, he got told it's his own fault and that he was stupid. He certainly isn't getting pity from anyone. Why is Apple so entitled? Well, Blabbermouth coddled him, and that had more effect than when his father tried to set him straight. We do hope that being away from the influence of evil, his mother, might set him straight. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Also, our court date is getting closer. As of now, it's scheduled for the end of October if there aren't any delays. I'll update again after that. Okay, well, first of all, fantastic news about your mother-in-law. Maybe I was a little bit harsh on her at the end of the last post, although I'm still not really sure about that. I still think some of the things that she's done are ridiculous, but yeah, the more she explains it and the more you guys talk about what's been said in therapy and how she's saying, I just couldn't actually quite believe what was happening. And there's no way that one of my kids would be attacking one of the other ones and hurting them this much. I do sort of see it from her perspective, but I still think you got to snap out of that and be like, okay, what's actually going on here? Let's actually help and not condone the actions of one of my kids who is literally going to prison for what they're doing. Now moving on to SOB, Apple, as I'm still going to call him. Yeah, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. He's just throwing his toys out the pram. It's pretty ridiculous how all your family seem to be doing similar sort of things. Just not happy? Fine, I'm going to come and trespass then. Doesn't really work, but yeah, interesting tactics. All right, now for the next post. This one is an update on Wonder Woman, the story of how my entitled cousin got hit by the karma train driven by his now ex-wife. Some people have asked me for an update on Wonder Woman, the now ex-wife of my entitled cousin. She is doing amazing. She sold the house and the car that were in her name. She moved away to a place she's unwilling to share. She has a PO box somewhere and we see each other whenever we can. In the beginning, she looked so drained and scared, but now, wow, she looks amazing. The kids are doing great. She has a job she truly enjoys and her parents help with childcare when they can. Her ex-father-in-law, the father of my entitled cousin, does get to see the grandchildren, but without Coddle Mum, her ex-mother-in-law. What I didn't know is that Coddle Mum tried to get custody of the children by involving Child Protective Services with false accusations. She got a slap on the wrist. In response, her husband told her not to do anything stupid or he'd divorce her. Since they have a prenup, she'd be left with a lot less. Still comfortable, but not what she's used to. Coddle Mum loves to brag about her status, so divorce is not something she wants. It took a while, but slowly, Wonder Woman told family members and friends what her ex-husband, my entitled cousin, had been doing. He never hit her. No physical or sexual abuse, but there was plenty of emotional and financial abuse. I won't share the details, as Wonder Woman asked me not to, but she is dealing with it as best she can. Like us, she and her parents, friends and relatives are somewhat afraid of what might happen if my entitled cousin gets out of jail. She's got a good lawyer, and like us, they're busy putting protective measures in place. This is my entitled cousin we're dealing with. He's stupid. We're low-key placing bets on how long it would take before he shows up somewhere he shouldn't. So a small but nice update. I'm glad she's doing better. Yeah, so am I. That is great to hear. Okay, now moving on to our next post. Here we go. Trial has started. An update on us, and Coddle Mum just had to prove she's an idiot. The trials have started. I can't say anything about what's being discussed until it's all over and done with. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I suppose that makes sense. But what I can tell you is this. My entitled cousin and Blabbermouth looked extremely nervous, yet somehow still confident, almost arrogant, on the first day. My husband and I haven't gone back since. I have work that needs doing and he's struggling to see his own family sitting in the stands. To be honest, we also just have no desire to sit in a courtroom staring at the people who caused us so much pain. Our victim statements are in the file and they'll be read out at the appropriate time. Our lawyer keeps us updated, as do some of my friends and parents who decided completely on their own to attend as often as they can. I told them it wasn't necessary, especially since they're elderly. but my mother just gave me a look. And my dad, not a man of many words, simply said, "In our time of need, you and your brother are there for us. Now we're doing what we should do as parents, being there for you both in your time of need. Besides, I want to see what kind of people they are with my own eyes." My friends echoed that. They said I was there for their highs and lows, and now it's their turn. The more devilish among them are mostly going just to see how deep a hole my entitled cousin and Blabbermouth dig for themselves. I love these people. My husband is not doing so well. This trial is a painful reminder that it was his own sister and cousin who tried to hurt his wife and take his children. Anger and sadness are battling it out inside of him. The children are nervous too. We've kept them informed, and our lawyer has done a great job giving them an unbiased, age-appropriate explanation of the proceedings. My eldest especially wants all the details. He's very into understanding how things work. But beyond curiosity, they're scared. All this time, entitled cousin and Blabbermouth were locked up, out of reach. Now they understand that a verdict is coming and that there's a chance, however small, that they might walk free. We've increased therapist visits to once a week in person and once online. Our neighbours have been dropping by more, bringing Frou with them. And LeFou being with us has helped tremendously. Nothing soothes nerves like big, goofy dogs handing out hugs and slobbery kisses, then turning protective the moment they sense tension. As for my mother-in-law, things with her have improved a little. But now that her daughter's trial has started, she's hitting a crossroads. She's restarted her whole, "oh, my poor daughter" routine. She's not said anything about pity or mercy, so that's something. Coddle Mum, however, is on another level of delusional. She showed up on our doorstep the day before the trial started. We saw her on the doorbell camera, and our neighbour, who happened to be walking Frou, noticed her and asked if she needed help. Bless that man. He made sure to keep her directly in front of the camera the whole time. She asked, rudely, who he was. When he said he lived in the neighbourhood, she claimed she was there on an urgent legal matter. Her urgent legal matter? She was there to threaten us with legal action if we didn't stop the court proceedings. Apparently, entitled cousin was provoked by my actions and acted in self-defense. Therefore, in her mind, none of this needs to happen and we should drop the charges. And if we didn't, she'd contact Child Protective Services and accuse us of harming our kids and also file defamation charges. My neighbour just laughed. Honestly, what else do you do with that level of ridiculous? He calmly told her that's not how the legal system works, and she had just admitted on camera to attempted blackmail via false accusations. She doubled down, of course, claimed we were lying, claimed I should have done as I was told, because clearly my husband and I being united in our refusal to be treated like a walking ATM is beyond her comprehension. He told her to get therapy, get lost, and prepare for the no contact order that's likely heading her way. So, you can guess who's been keeping my lawyer extra busy this week. Side note, yes, we're aware that CPS can be called by vindictive family members. No, we're not worried. We've been working with them already, since entitled cousin tried to break into our home, and again after what happened with the attempted abduction. We were assessed like any other family in that situation, and deemed fit parents, thankfully. That is the update for now. I'll post again as things progress. Now that was posted in October of 2022. This following post is from December of 2022. So we're jumping quite a bit from when the trial started now. How's it going with the rest of the family? A lot of people are asking me about the trial. My lawyer has advised though not to post anything about it on social media, so I won't, not until I can. What I can talk about is how things are going with the rest of the family. Quick recap on the whole story. Blabbermouth ran her mouth to my husband's aunts, uncles and cousins. They started harassing us, demanding money. One uncle slapped me in the face. He got dubbed Little Love Tap Uncle. He also got to meet a judge. Several relatives received a lovely piece of paper that screamed no contact, and surprisingly enough, they've respected it. We've not heard from them since. The no contact orders weren't renewed. There was no legal reason to. Slowly, we've started reconnecting. We've attended a few socially distanced birthday parties. It's been awkward, well at first, but manageable. At the first gathering after COVID restrictions were lifted, Love Tap Uncle came up to me and asked if he could say something. My husband and the kids stayed close for obvious reasons. He apologized profusely and said that if I didn't want anything to do with him, he'd understand. He started explaining himself, and it sounded sincere at first. But when he tried shifting the blame to Blabbermouth and me, I let him have it. I told him, no, it was your doing that you never picked up the phone to talk to us. It was your doing that you drove to my home and waited for me. It was your doing that you screamed, yelled insults, and slapped me. Your greed drove that, not Blabbermouth, not me. You found out we had money and you wanted it. You're an adult. Take responsibility. You could have made different choices. Don't blame your greed on anyone else. He went quiet and actually said I was right. A lot of them now say they understand why we didn't tell anyone we had money. It wasn't that we didn't want to help. It's that we didn't want to be seen as an ATM people could withdraw from whenever they felt like it. Some of them have actually become interested in investing. I've been talking with a few about budgeting too, something I'm good at from our early days of struggling. We keep conversations light. I'm still wary and they know that. Will things go back to how they were? No, I don't have that illusion anymore. They show respect, but they also know my husband and I won't hesitate to throw the law book at them if they step out of line. We still think some of them might be trying to get on our good side for money, not that it will work. We're not starting any more college funds for relatives. That ship has sailed. One cousin did ask for a certified loan. When we asked for details, we got a shady story, so we said no. He sulked, but that was it. I think he remembered what happened to others who pushed too hard. My own relatives have been harassing my parents and brother too. Once I found out, I sent a letter that made it very clear they needed to stop. The entitled ones have backed off since. They still make snide remarks now and then, but honestly, pick your battles. My parents hounded them like pros, and my brother, he's tall, strong, and has a take no trash attitude. They don't dare mess with him. I paid for some security upgrades at my parents' house. There are 2 reasons. 1, I don't want history repeating itself. If any of my cousins decide to pull a Blabbermouth/entitled cousin combo, I want it all caught on tape. And 2, my parents are getting older, and there have been some local break-ins targeting elderly people. If anything like that happens, I want a clear shot of whoever it is, so Frou and LeFou can chase them into a holding cell. My brother doesn't need any upgrades, he's already got measures in place. He was also grateful when our lawyer sent a few warning letters to the worst offenders. Our relationship has changed. My brother and sister-in-law always knew we were doing well, but after everything came to light, they realised the full extent. They're happy for us, but now, whenever we go out together as a family, they always try to pay for something. My brother told me he's grateful for the help we gave him, but he never wants us to feel used. It makes things a bit awkward sometimes, especially if we say it's our treat because it's a birthday or something. Still, after everything we've been through, that kind of gesture feels really, really good. I actually thought that was going to go the other way for a second, so I'm very happy to hear that. Anyway, that is the update on the family. Life has sort of returned to normal. The kids still get nervous sometimes. My husband has good days and bad ones. I've got no current health concerns, just a few meds and some physical therapy, but the dog walks have helped a lot. Well, that is good news, and that takes us up to December 2022, almost moving into 2023. I suppose it's a little bit of a shame that OP can't really disclose any of the details of the trial. We'll have to wait and see if we do get some of those in the next few posts. I really hope we do. But yeah, it feels as if, I'm being a little bit cautious in saying this, but right now, maybe everyone's moving on a bit. Maybe we're getting towards the conclusion of this story. Maybe it's going to sort of chill out and just peter out into nothingness, and everyone can move past this weird time in their lives. I mean, COVID was pretty weird anyway. Having this going on at the same time, brutal. How Coddle Mum got hit in the face. Dear Reddit family and friends, the trial is still ongoing, so I can't share anything new on that front, but I do have an update on Coddle Mum. Just to refresh, Coddle Mum is the entitled cousin's entitled mother, the one who agreed with him that I should have just done what he told me to do, like some sort of obedient puppet. You might remember the time she came to our door while we weren't home and threatened to file fake charges and CPS reports. Well, she actually did it. She filed the fake CPS charges. For anyone who doesn't know, our country's version of CPS has been involved with us already, not in a negative way, but to help and support our children after the attempted abduction. As part of their standard procedures, they assessed us and officially established that we're fit parents. They also work alongside our family physician to provide ongoing support. So, when Coddle Mum threatened to call them with fake charges, we sent a copy of the doorbell footage to CPS. They then later called to let us know that they've received anonymous reports about child abuse and abandonment. Luckily, we already had an appointment scheduled, so they came over and reviewed everything. We understand they have to take every single report seriously, even if they suspect it's fake. Nothing came of it. We were told everything was in order and that the anonymous person was now on file in case further false reports were made. At that point, we didn't have concrete proof of who it was, until Coddle Mum made it very clear. She showed up at our door again, this time in full screaming fit mode, demanding to know why our children were still with us when she had reported us. She actually said it out loud, ranted about how we were supposed to learn our lesson and all that nonsense. Unfortunately for her, our cameras were running. So guess who now has a fresh no contact order and a lawsuit for defamation and filing false claims? Well, give yourself a cookie if you guessed Coddle Mum. Even I got that one. And when did she get the letter? Right in the middle of lunch with her husband, Steve. Well, Steve finally snapped. He told her he'd had enough of her behaviour and filed for divorce. They've got a prenup, so Coddle Mum will receive a pre-agreed amount of money. She's not going to be penniless. She's plenty of savings and a solid retirement fund. She'll be able to afford a decent-sized apartment and still live comfortably. As for their house, she refuses to be bought out and won't buy him out either, so it's being put on the market. For now, they're both still living there but in separate bedrooms. And just when you think Coddle Mum couldn't be more Coddle Mum, from what I've heard, she thought she could move in with one of her daughters instead of buying her own place. That plan was shut down immediately. Her daughters made it clear they had no intention of letting her live with them or anywhere near their families. Coddle Mum apparently made a few nasty comments about her daughters and their children, not exactly the way to win people over. Entitled Cousin was, and still is, the apple of her eye. When her youngest daughter asked if Coddle Mum was even planning to contribute to bills, she responded that she wouldn't, that it was her daughter's duty to help her out after all she'd done for them. Right. So, now Coddle Mum has a son in prison with no job and no home, a husband who wants nothing to do with her, daughters who are sick of her toxic nonsense, a lawsuit, and a no contact order. Nice work, Coddle Mum. The upside? She's got her hands full with her own mess now, and she's finally leaving us alone. Well, just 6 days after this post, we actually got this, an update on the whole situation. Update: how Coddle Mum got hit in the face. Begging Wonder Woman for help. I had to share this one with you. Okay, so quick little recap. Coddle Mum is now going through a divorce after she got served. Steve, her soon-to-be ex-husband, warned her multiple times that he was at his limit. If there was one more legal letter, that would push him to file for divorce. And when that letter arrived, he meant it and he filed. Her daughters had already made it crystal clear as well. Under no circumstances would they take her in after she and Steve sold the house. She's not broke. She's got a decent amount of money in her accounts and a solid retirement fund. But they all refused point blank to let her mooch off them after the horrendous things that she said over the years. Apparently though, Coddle Mum has zero intention of living on her own or spending her own money like an adult. Instead, she somehow managed to get in contact with none other than her former daughter-in-law, Wonder Woman. Yep, entitled cousin's ex-wife. Now, Wonder Woman still has her old number active for one reason only: Steve. It's how they coordinate visits so he can see his grandchildren. She's got a new number, a new home, and a fresh start, but the old number stays in service purely as a decoy. The idea is that if Coddle Mum thinks she still has access to Wonder Woman, she won't start digging for real contact info. So, Coddle Mum calls the number. Wonder Woman answers, thinking it's Steve. Nope, it's Coddle Mum. And without even a hello or how are you, she launches right into her usual entitled spiel. She immediately explains her situation in that demanding, dismissive way we've all come to expect from her. Now, here's the best part. Wonder Woman and I were together that day. We'd planned a proper girls' day, a bit of well-earned rest, some laughs, good food, so I got to hear this play out in real time. Before Coddle Mum could even get to the part where she was about to ask, or rather tell, Wonder Woman that she needed a place to live, Wonder Woman just shut it down. She said, "Just stop right there. I know that you're going through a divorce. I know the house is being sold. I know you need a place to live. I'm not going to allow you to live with me. Not even if heck freezes over will I let you live with me. Ever. Lose my number. Goodbye." Click. Coddle Mum didn't dare call her again. Didn't even try. We spent the rest of the day absolutely basking in the glow of Wonder Woman's perfect, ice-cold takedown. No yelling, no arguing, just cold, calm, righteous boundaries. I love the balls of this woman. And there we go. Just when you're thinking, oh, Blabbermouth and Entitled Cousin have taken a bit of a back seat, Coddle Mum comes out of nowhere and just says, "You know what, guys, leave it to me. I will continue the ridiculous entitlement on this side of the family." I mean, yeah, I completely agree with you. I massively respect Wonder Woman. I have from the beginning, to be fair, especially given what she did in terms of actually then finally filing for divorce and breaking up with her partner who was in prison. Yeah, probably a good thing to do, but I know it took a while, but it was hard. Also pretty ridiculous that not only now has Entitled Cousin been broken up with by their partner, Coddle Mum, the Entitled Cousin's mum, has now also been broken up with by their partner. It's like these guys they're just ridiculous. But yeah, good to see karma in full force, and once again, I rate Wonder Woman very highly. Alright, now moving on to our next post, leaving Coddle Mum for a little bit. This was posted in September of 2023, so about a 6-month jump from the last post. Blabbermouth's youngest wants his college fund, tries different tactics. Okay, we are so back. How Coddle Mum got hit in the face. Dear Reddit family, I hope this finds you all in good health. Rest assured, this one is about Blabbermouth's youngest once again. Now, I've reread some of my earlier posts and realised I accidentally gave him 2 nicknames, entitled Apple Kid and SOB, son of Blabbermouth. To keep things simple, I'll stick with SOB from now on. No, I'm going to have to overrule that. I'm going to call him Apple. I just prefer it. For those following along, you'll know Apple, almost 19 now, lost access to his college fund from me and my husband after doing something stupid. His parents weren't thrilled about it either, especially since court costs have drained most of their savings. So now, surprise, surprise, he needs to get a job to fund his own education. For some reason, he didn't have one before. I'm guessing Blabbermouth paid for everything up until now, so the concept of working is new to him. He has, however, started a job, but he's not happy with the status quo. What follows are his attempts, plural, to get money from us. Spoiler, they didn't go well. Attempt 1. He rang our doorbell and gave us the whole "I can't afford college" speech. He claimed his parents didn't have enough money and that he didn't have a job. I told him bluntly, get a job. He admitted his parents could pay most of the tuition for this year, but not for books or the years ahead. I said, well, that's good, at least this year is covered. Cue the whining. I reminded him that he screwed up, was warned, and that working would be good for him in many ways. He left fuming. Attempt 2. He started sending us texts, emails, and even handwritten letters listing all the reasons he deserves the money. Set fake deadlines and threatened us if we didn't hand over his funds. We ignored all of it, but saved every single piece of communication. Attempt 3. He sent us what looked like a letter from a law firm demanding we release the college funds or face legal action. It was hilariously unprofessional and clearly fake. So, at that point, I called in my lawyer and we scheduled a video call with my brother-in-law, his lawyer, and Apple. We calmly laid everything out. What Apple was doing could legally be considered blackmail, and impersonating a law firm, they're both very serious offences. My lawyer didn't hold back either. Apple was squirming in his chair. Then I took my turn. I clarified exactly how our college funding worked, something Apple was already told at 15 and reminded many times over. We never gave money directly. We paid institutions or vendors after verifying everything. I even bought receipts and copies of past transactions to show how it was all done. Not a cent ever landed in their personal bank accounts. Apple looked genuinely surprised. I asked him why he was so desperate to get the money directly. He dodged, mumbled, and tried to spin it. I cut in and said what we were all thinking. He wanted the money for other things, not school. His face turned bright red. Then came the tantrum. He ranted and raved, claimed his father should work harder if he couldn't pay, said he didn't want a job, and that he just wanted to take it easy during college and have fun on our dime. Now, say what you want about my brother-in-law, but one thing I'll give him credit for is that he doesn't tolerate entitled nonsense from his kids. He's strict when it counts. His 4 other children are great, decent, hardworking young adults. So when Apple tried to pitch this nonsense about dad working extra hours so he could slack off, my brother-in-law snapped. He didn't raise his voice, but he shut that down immediately. He told Apple he'd deal with it and left the call. Since then, absolute silence. Apple's siblings told us their dad found him a job with a friend of his and added that if he screws this up, he can pay for college on his own, fair and square. It's been peaceful since. Let's hope it stays that way. Now, maybe you guys thought that we were done with the coddle mum stories, but no, don't worry. That was just a little bit of reprieve. We're going to be back right away. A couple of months later, we got this. Coddle mum has burned every bridge. I mean, at this point, I'm trying to work out who I think the actual most entitled person is in this entire story. And it's very close. I mean, Apple. I don't want to work. Why can't my dad just work harder so I can have fun? Give me your money and let me go and enjoy college. I'm not going to study. I just want to party. Or Coddle Mum. Oh, let's just see what happens next. I mean, that's not even talking about Blabbermouth or the entitled cousin or anyone else. Or even Love Tap Uncle going that far back. Okay, here we go. I didn't know I would update with news on Coddle Mum, but I have news. Steve and his daughters keep me as updated as they can in case Coddle Mum decides that I'm being moved upward on her priority list. The house has been sold and the divorce has been finalised. Since they'd renovated the house not long ago, people were very interested and a buyer was found pretty quickly. Coddle Mum and Steve are now officially no longer tied to one another. She walked away with a nice sum and had until the 15th of June to get her things out of the house and find herself a new place to live. Steve had been looking for an apartment since the start of the divorce proceedings and found one. It's quite close to his daughters and their families. He moved as soon as he could. On to Coddle Mum. I don't have everything clear as my inside informants are not close to her anymore, so some details about what happened might be vague because of this. Coddle Mum agreed on the sale as she got a very nice sum of money. She also seemed to realise that if she did anything now, she would get herself in deep trouble. Yet, this wouldn't be Coddle Mum, the empress of entitlement, if something weren't to happen. She had a whopping 5 weeks left at that point to find alternative housing. The buyers even offered extra money if they could move quickly. She and Steve gladly accepted. Her friends came with suggestions, offered her their homes, and one even managed to find a good apartment for her. She even went to look at it, but rejected the offer. I've seen the pictures as her daughters texted them to me. The price was affordable, good neighbourhood, nice neighbours as far as they could tell, no minor problems to the apartment itself. It even had the possibility for in-home care. Seems like a dream to me, but Coddle Mum said no. Why reject such a good offer? Because she was still hell-bent on living with one of her daughters. For free, of course. We know this because her tactic was to wait till the last moment to spring this onto her daughters. Coddle Mum went to daughter one's house and told her the first week of June would be perfect for her to move in. Daughter one asked if she'd lost her mind as she wasn't moving in with them. Coddle Mum again spouted some things about taking care of your elderly mother is your duty. You owe me this. I paid for your upbringing. You should pay me back. Daughter one told me she used some not so nice words to make her position very clear and slammed the door before Coddle Mum could say anything else. To make sure Coddle Mum got the message, she sent a text, an email, and even a priority letter, which requires a signature for proof of delivery, telling Coddle Mum that she is not welcome to live there and will be trespassed if she shows up again. She even changed the locks for good measure. So, Coddle Mum then went to her other daughter. She called daughter 2 and told her, yes, told, not asked, that she'd be moving in the first week of June. Daughter 2 told her, heck no, that's not happening, and did the same thing as her elder sister. But this is Coddle Mum we're talking about. she didn't take no for an answer and showed up anyway. First at daughter one's house, where she was met with a locked door and daughter one and her husband shouting down from the window that she should leave or the police would be called. She left. Daughter two was then warned by her sister and locked her house down too. As soon as her mum showed up, daughter two called the police. Coddle mum noticed and left quickly. Time was running out for her. Can you imagine your two daughters calling the police on you, by the way? Like, that is, I don't know if it's heartbreaking, like just really sad and tragic, just cringe. I don't know. Anyway, that is what happens when you wait till the last minute to find new living arrangements and try to mooch off your own children. Coddle mum tried her friends. One apparently obliged, with conditions. This friend was in the process of moving and would only have the house for another 2 to 3 months. She offered to host her for 2 months tops while she found another place, but Coddle mum would need to sign a form confirming she'd be out by then. She didn't like that at all. Still, she showed up with some of her belongings ready to move in. The friend, having heard about her nonsense, refused to let her in unless she signed the form. Coddle mum refused, so she didn't get to stay. She didn't leave quietly either. She was heard ranting, "I thought I would get to live here. I didn't think you wouldn't let me stay. I thought we were friends." Then she tried her daughters again, with no luck and a visit from some very stern police officers. Then she called Steve. Steve told her bluntly that this was a problem of her own making. He offered no help, told her she was no longer his responsibility and shut it down. She even tried his relatives, but they refused her too. Now, the house is gone. The transfer has been completed. She has no home anymore. I know she managed to find an Airbnb, but she still hasn't secured a real apartment yet. So, that, dear Redditors, is the story of how Coddle mum burned every bridge she had in life and now stands on her own. Well, there you go. A generational story of karma. And it's what you want to see. I don't like when people get away with just being horrible to their family especially. Then when they need something, go back into their lives and actually get what they wanted despite the fact that they were so terrible in the past. So it's good to see stuff like this, and I for one want to see more of it. As I said while reading that, like, how sad is that? To rock up to your daughter's places saying, "I'm living with you. You owe me this." And them just being like, "No, you're not. And if you don't leave, I'm calling the police." Like, what a sad sight. I just have an image of like Coddle mum outside her daughter's house, daughter upstairs with her husband looking out the window just like, "What are you doing?" And her just with a little box being like, "Please let me move in for free. I don't want to spend any of the money that I definitely do have to pay for quite a nice place on my own." I still don't really understand why. Just very odd. The end. Or so we hope. A while back, I posted about being physically assaulted by entitled cousin and one of his friends, while Blabbermouth tracked down my kids and tried to drag one of my youngest away. They were arrested and have been awaiting trial in jail. So here is the update you've all been waiting for, the outcome of their trial. The delay in posting was mostly due to the holidays, Christmas, New Year, and illness among people involved. After that, I needed time to process everything. I didn't attend most of the trial, but my parents and close friends were present and kept my husband and me updated. The case is now closed. Both entitled cousin and Blabbermouth have been sentenced to prison. Everything possible was thrown at them. Charges, evidence, witness accounts, with the hope that they'd spend a good amount of time behind bars. For anonymity's sake, I won't share how long their sentences are. Entitled cousin was convicted of several charges, the most serious being grievous bodily harm and aiding and kidnapping. Blabbermouth was also convicted with attempted kidnapping and aiding grievous bodily harm topping the list. After their release, they are legally prohibited from contacting us or coming near us. We're hoping they actually respect that this time. Yes, they planned this together. The idea was for entitled cousin to beat me up, to scare me and make me more pliable. Blabbermouth would lure the kids away, hoping that we'd be forced to pay a ransom. On the stand, Blabbermouth insisted she never meant to hurt my kids, she just wanted money. Entitled cousin's accomplice cut a deal. He provided testimony and evidence in exchange for probation, a fine, and community service. Apparently, Blabbermouth resented me because of my success, my investments, education, and salary. My brother-in-law made some investments too, but they didn't pan out like ours did. This apparently sparked jealousy and bitterness in Blabbermouth. When asked why she tried to take my children, her answer was, so that their mother would pay me the money I deserve and that she owes me. She felt she was owed money for babysitting or hosting sleepovers, even when she had asked to have the kids over for the weekend. Fun fact, we always gave her a gift, flowers or money as a thank you. We paid her the going nanny rate the few times that she did babysit. We covered her gas when she drove the kids anywhere. Even when she offered to help, we compensated her with cash or nice gifts. She always claimed it wasn't necessary, but we did it anyway. We also paid her daughters when they babysat. Now, we know how deeply jealous she was of our financial situation. My husband and I never felt like we flaunted our money, but in hindsight, maybe we should have handled things differently. Still, my husband and I were absolutely flabbergasted by her actions. The audacity. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are devastated. They're furious at what she tried to do, but also heartbroken. They never imagined their daughter could go this far or end up in prison. My mother-in-law is especially broken. She originally asked us to forgive and or forget, and we both lost our cool. Blabbermouth didn't just betray us, she tried to destroy our family. When my mother-in-law heard Blabbermouth's reason in court, she cried. She finally understood just how much we'd supported Blabbermouth and her family over the years, financially and emotionally. Friends who were in the courtroom said my in-laws were absolutely shattered. But pure joy on our end. We're free of Entitled Cousin and Blabbermouth for now, and they got exactly what they deserved. I won't lie, it was satisfying to see their faces when the guilty verdicts were read. Blabbermouth tried to say something, blubbering and crying so hard I couldn't make out the words. Only her husband and youngest child still support her. Her other children have disowned her and didn't even show up in court. Entitled Cousin, on the other hand, lost it. He started shouting and insulting everyone. His life has completely fallen apart. His wife filed for divorce right after his arrest, got full custody, moved away, sold their house, which was in her name, got a no-contact order, and is now building a great life for herself and their kids. He has lost everything. Friends, family, wife, children. His kids, who are close in age to mine, want nothing to do with him. Only his mother still supports him. Not even his dad or sisters are in his corner anymore. My lawyer and my husband are both proud that I finally learned to stand up for myself. I no longer let family get away with toxic behavior. I still try to see the good in people, but I now understand that not everyone has light in them. I've learned how to set boundaries, choose my battles, and fight when I must. Justice isn't always this sweet. Honestly, Entitled Cousin should have been locked up a long time ago. My children finally feel safe again. They are sleeping better. LeFou, Frou-Frou, and their wonderful owners, our neighbours, have been incredible. Our neighbours knew the full story early on. They never asked for anything, they just gave us endless love, support and trust. They've become chosen family. The kids see them as extra grandparents, and the neighbours love having them around. They never had children of their own, so this bond means the world to them. They call the kids their honorary nibblings. Our eldest especially looks up to the male neighbour as a male role model. In all this chaos, he's given him advice and perspective that's really helped him grow. I'm so grateful we found family through this mess. I hope things stay peaceful for a while. I'm not sure if I'll be posting much after this. The saga of Entitled Cousin and Blabbermouth has finally come to an end. Good luck to all. Okay, so there we go. That is phenomenal news. Maybe the best news we've had actually throughout this entire saga so far. I was pretty confident we weren't really going to hear anything about the trial or the sentencing at all, just for sort of anonymity purposes, and also because obviously in previous posts we were told by OP, like, you know, can't really reveal too much stuff. But of course, when the sentencing has been sentenced and Blabbermouth and Entitled Cousin are put away and it's all decided, that's public info. So yeah, we get to know. I guess again, for anonymity reasons, we're not going to know exactly how long the sentences are, although I would absolutely love to know that. Maybe that would be a little bit too obvious, although I kind of doubt it. I mean, it'd be quite hard to find out just from the length of a sentence who an individual is. But yeah, leave your comments down below. Again, I'm not quite sure which country this takes place in. I've tried to work it out and I can't. If you can, or you might know just based on certain content that's happened, then let me know in the comments. But that aside, and I know it is country dependent, how long do you think both of these guys have gone down for? I reckon at least a couple of years, but who knows? I mean, both of the sentences are very serious, like you'd hope, especially with the abducting children one. Like that has to be attempted abduction of children. Like that is bad. There's GBH, and then there's attempting to abduct children. I think one of them is slightly worse. I mean, they're both not great, don't get me wrong, but yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. All right then, now let's jump ahead to January the 9th, 2024 with our next post, update on the family. I still get messages from people asking for updates on my family, especially about my mother-in-law. My husband and the kids are doing much better. Therapy has helped a lot. They've learned that some things are simply out of their control. They're not feeling helpless anymore, and they're in a much better mental space than before. We've also been training regularly with our dog, which has really boosted the children's confidence. Our relationship with my mother-in-law is so-so. The trial took an immense toll on her. She finally realised the impact her actions and inactions had on us. Even though she's been in therapy, the reality of who Blabbermouth truly is didn't sink in right away. But that reality eventually came crashing down. Blabbermouth danged herself in her mother's eyes. For years, my mother-in-law downplayed everything Blabbermouth said and did to me, from the very beginning of my relationship with my husband. She never really believed that Blabbermouth meant any of those hurtful things she said over the years. But the most shocking thing Blabbermouth ever said didn't even happen in court. It happened during a jail visit from my mother-in-law. Blabbermouth told her mum that I had always overreacted, that family shares, and that I and the children should just shut up, stop complaining, and do as she says. She said that I should have divorced my husband long ago, but since I was the one bringing in more money, I should have been a good family member and shared it. She said none of this would have happened if I'd just done what she wanted, that I wouldn't have been harmed if I'd simply followed her instructions, that I was the reason she was in jail. She said she needed to prove that she was the one who got to decide what I did with my money because she's older than me and knew what was best for the family. I roll, sure Blabbermouth. As what, the most spoiled one of them all? Then she told my mother-in-law that I was never worthy of being part of the family. That I had my uses, but if I wasn't going to part with my money, it would be better if me and my children, not my husband's kids, my kids alone in her mind, were no longer part of it. The way my poor mother-in-law interpreted that last remark, she believed her daughter had just wished death on me and her grandchildren. She told us this herself. And while my mother-in-law has a huge heart, she often misses the subtext in what people say or do. This time though, she understood. Now, I don't personally believe that Blabbermouth wants me dead. She knows full well that while my husband earns a good salary, it's my income and my investments that created our financial cushion. That's the only reason we were ever able to help her and her family the way we did. She's extremely entitled, yes, but is she that stupid? Not quite. She's made it clear over the years that she wanted my husband to divorce me. She's tried to sabotage and end our relationship more times than I can count, but I don't believe she ever intended to kill me. When the possibility came up that she could be indicted for attempted manslaughter after entitled cousin's attack on me, she panicked. She wanted me compliant, not dead. But her actions damaged her relationship with her brother beyond repair. My husband has always placed me and the children on a pedestal, and by hurting me, by going this far, Blabbermouth lost his respect completely. He's furious with her. He's disowned her entirely. He doesn't care what happens to her anymore. And it's not just my husband. Even her own mother believed she wanted us dead. We explained to her what really happened, reminded her of all the things we've done for Blabbermouth and her family, and for others as well, but she didn't seem to hear it, or she didn't want to. She finally saw it all. The comments, the digs, the constant little ways Blabbermouth tried to undermine me. All the things she'd always excused, she saw them for what they were. Now she understands the full severity of her daughter's behaviour, the calculated, cruel ways she tried to break me, to control me, to force me to comply. even if it meant endangering my health, my life, and inflicting trauma on my children. As long as our wills were broken and Blabbermouth's demands were met, nothing else mattered to her. That realization shattered my mother-in-law. She no longer sees her daughter as just a loving mother. She sees her for what she truly is: entitled, manipulative, and now living with the consequences of her own actions. She's been apologizing constantly. She cries a lot. We look at her now with a mix of sadness and relief. Sadness for her broken heart, but relief that Blabbermouth no longer has an ally in her mother. Even Blabbermouth's children, especially the two eldest, told their grandmother bluntly, "We're glad you finally see her for who she is." They were tired of the rug sweeping. They're not angry with their grandmother, but they are done pretending everything is okay. They know she's non-confrontational and tends to ignore problems to keep the peace, but they're not letting her avoid the truth anymore. She is continuing therapy. There's still a long road ahead. As for the rest of the family, they've been quiet. Nobody's asked us for money. A few have reached out for budgeting advice or guidance, which we're happy to give. We're civil with those who went against us. Cordial, but distant. Okay, now let's get into the next post, which is a little bit different, and I think you guys might welcome this change. Titled, "Some Wonderful News." A very good friend of mine, let's call him Jake, showed up at my door with his great love as a surprise. They're getting married this summer, and I have the absolute honor of being the best woman. My husband will be the best man. My eldest and youngest will be the ring bearers, and my daughter gets to be the flower maiden. They thought that flower girl didn't apply since she's a teenager. Fair enough. Finally, some good news. Well, there we go. That is a welcome change. However, sadly, that was just a little bit of respite in this story. Let's get into now the final post of this entire saga, and sadly, it's a pretty tragic title. The Passing of Mother-in-Law. After seeing Jake marry his great love, life gave us a heartbreaking turn. My mother-in-law, my husband's loving mum, has passed away. She fell down the stairs and broke her leg. Surgery was needed. She made it through and was recovering well at home. Things seemed stable, even hopeful. Then the signs of infection started. At first, we thought it was manageable. Stronger antibiotics, maybe another hospital stay, and she'd be okay. But when the doctors examined her more thoroughly, they found the infection was much worse than they'd anticipated. Still, we held on to hope. Then came the second blow. The tissue had turned necrotic. Another surgery was needed to remove the dead tissue. We were scared, but still trying to stay positive. And then, the bombshell. After running further tests, the doctors told us the risk of her heart, liver, and kidneys failing during surgery was alarmingly high. So high, they were certain she wouldn't survive the procedure. In short, whether she had the surgery or not, she was going to die. I still don't fully understand how they knew that. Maybe I don't want to, but hearing it, trying to process it, was devastating. Heartbroken doesn't even begin to describe it. My father-in-law brought her home. My husband and I helped arrange at-home palliative care. We reached out to family and friends, and they came to say their goodbyes. After 5 days, they gave her the sleep medication. She passed away peacefully early Tuesday morning. My father-in-law contacted Blabbermouth, her lawyer, and my brother-in-law. They're coordinating with our lawyer about the funeral and how the no-contact order will be handled. We've made it clear that we're not involved in any of the logistics around Blabbermouth's temporary release from prison. That's between my lawyer and the legal side of things. All we asked was that the no-contact order be upheld. We want to say goodbye to my mother-in-law without any drama. She had the chance to say goodbye to the people she loved. She told my husband and me she was sorry, that she just wanted the family to be whole again. We forgave her. Her funeral is next Monday. My lawyer is calling today to confirm the final arrangements around Blabbermouth's attendance. I know this post is a bit all over the place, and I'm sorry for that. There's just a lot to hold right now. Oh man, what a horrible, sad end to this entire saga. As I said, that is actually the last post that we have at this time, right now, recording 15th of July 2025. This was posted October 25th 2024, about 9 months ago, and we've not really had anything since then. So maybe there will be more in the future when Entitled Cousin and Blabbermouth get released from prison. If they ever do, who knows? But for now, that is the end of the story, and that's a pretty sad ending. I feel like your mother-in-law, OP, don't really know how to describe her in this story, but she had big ups and big downs, I suppose is all I'll say. I think you summed it up by saying that she has a very big heart, and maybe the fact that her heart is so big meant that she couldn't really see the truth, and for that reason was on her daughter's side far too much and didn't want to really understand or realize what was really going on. But that aside, and I feel like that's shown by her apology, like on her deathbed saying, oh, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. That aside, she seems like a great person. So yeah, a tragic ending. I don't know what else to say, really. Sad stuff. But yeah, there we go. As for the other characters in this story, that's sort of all we have. At least Entitled Cousin and Blabbermouth are in prison, and the fact that it hasn't been mentioned how long they're in for, and there's no sort of mention of an update of when they'll be released, makes me think that they'll be in there for quite a long time. You know, say they were getting out in 6 months' time. OP might say, I'll update you in a few months, or da-da-da-da. But right now, there's nothing. It's also worth mentioning as well, we didn't have a post about OP's mother-in-law's funeral, or whether or not Blabbermouth attended. Maybe that's for the best. Who knows? But yeah, for now, that is the end of this saga. Don't worry, I will monitor it, as I always do with these ones, especially the series, to see if there's anything new. But for now, that is going to do it.